Deerfield listeners, let's ride. I am your host at Deerfield Hop, Chris Hopper with 2 P's, as always, joined by at Dan Thury, at Deerfield Thury, at Thury BFF, at, I don't know, his name's Dan Thury.
That is my name.
That is your name. That's been the whole time we've been doing the show, and even before that.
Yay.
And Ryan Miner _ FFP.
Look at us. We're here early on a Friday afternoon.
We are here early on a Friday afternoon. Black Friday episode. Decided to knock this out of the way. Dan's already played some disc golf this morning. I've already brewed a beer this morning.
And I'm Clark Griswold.
And, yeah, Ryan's been hanging here some lights.
And I'm Clark Griswold.
I'm Clark Griswold. Yeah, at Beerfield on the Twitter, at Beerfield Podcast on YouTube. We have not signed up for our $8 a month blue check mark yet, so... And won't be. We got a Week 12 preview for you today. All the questions you could want answered, we're going to answer them. We're going to preview what's left of Week 12 anyway. We didn't do this before Thursday just because of life and stuff like that. So we'll preview what's left of Thursday, latest on news and ins and outs, and some league discussion. We talk ethics and decision making and all that fun stuff a lot on this show, and Dan and I found ourselves in the middle of one of those kerfuffles, so we're gonna discuss this kerfuffle. It wasn't really a conflict, nobody was mad or anything like that, just little disagreements. So we're gonna discuss that and how that went, and spoilers, the outcome was good, but we'll talk about it. Before we do that though, I believe, was that right?
I said that's no fun when there's no controversy and no arguments.
Yes, it is. As a commissioner, it's fucking great. The last thing I want is for shit to go awry.
Yeah, it's fantastic when everyone can act like fucking adults.
Yeah.
Aw, that's no fun.
I'm sorry, this league isn't like Twitter.
Yeah, or Facebook groups or anything like that. This was actually people acting like adults.
What's fueling Beerfield?
Whoa. Dan, what are you drinking?
I am, we mentioned, I don't know if it was on air or off. I'm doing, it's Black Friday. It's the Blackest Friday for the bar community that does a lot of craft beer. So it's Big Barrel Age Day. It's the release of Bourbon County. So in natural fashion, I do not have Bourbon County. I have my own shit. And by my own, I mean by the brewery I work for. So I have some Dos Vidania. Nice. I'm doing the s'mores variant. I do have the rye in my fridge.
Nice.
I was doing the s'mores variant for this year.
I have not had a chance to get my hands on anything for this year, so I got one of last year's variants from Distill. I did go pick up some Bourbon County this morning. I did not hunt it. Don't ever hunt that. When I started mashing in, I was going to get some McDonald's. The Schnucks is right next to the McDonald's, so I ran in there and was able to pick up a 30th anniversary in this year's release. So, but not keeping with the trend, I am not doing Bourbon County. We typically save Bourbon County stuff for draft night. So I also have Dos Vidania. This is one of last year's variants, though. This is a chocolate peanut butter. With it being a year old, some of that, and it's also a different can. I'm gonna rip.
They changed up the labels.
No, look at the bottom. There's a printed can.
I know.
Some sort.
This is what happens when you pre-buy and you print your cans and you have a shit ton of cans, and you have to be flexible with the cans that you're using. So
fair enough.
We have thus moved to all printed labels, which makes the world of making of canning beer a lot better because you're not having to use predetermined cans.
Gotcha. So this is a cocoa stout, or this is an imperial barrel aged stout with peanut butter and cocoa nibs. More on this about halfway through. Obviously graded on a curve because I've been it is a year old and some of that peanut butter is gonna have fallen off. So it's the one thing with getting variants, by the way. Age the base stuff. Typically don't age variants. Especially. Yeah.
So drink it fresh when it comes out, huh?
Yeah.
For anything that's a variant that has adjuncts in it, like fruit or peanut butter flavoring doesn't really fall off too bad. But anything that's got like fruit in it or, spices, things like that, that will tail off over time. So yeah, drink those fresh. You do not want to cellar those for very long.
You want to treat them like IPAs.
Oh,
Obviously,
for-
it's not going to be like go completely different the longer you hold on to it. It's just
Mhm.
you're going to lose.
It's not going to be as rich.
Yeah, it won't be as intense.
Yeah, like IPAs only have like 2 to 3 months max, and then it
Hot
starts to
flavor.
taste like crap after a while.
Hot flavor starts to curtail and it becomes really muddled.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, I have Dewclaw Brewing's Company Sweet Baby Jesus Chocolate
Ooh.
Peanut Butter Porter.
That's a good one too.
Mm. The darkest days today.
We're all drinking black
Yeah,
beer.
for Black Friday, why not?
Yeah,
That's right.
it's a good beer.
Blackest Friday.
I don't celebrate it, but
Mm.
hey,
Blackest Friday for you. Black Beer Friday for Stubborn Jorman. Shout out to those guys. I'm sure they're killing it. So, yeah. All right, cool. We're going to talk about, before we jump into the news, we are going to talk about that league thing. So, Dan, why don't you go ahead and start this off? Because you obviously knew about it before the rest of us caught wind of it. And then I'll kind of jump in at the point when I jump in. When I
I'll
jumped in real
set
life.
up. Yeah, I'll do the setup here. So we have a battle going on for the 101, and one of our league mates, he's got Kyler Murray in the starting spot. Right, this is a single QB league, so Kyler Murray, Davis Mills are his two quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, the last couple of weeks, for those of you who I know has been running the questionable tag and ruled out the last 2 weeks. Last week, so week 11 or week 10.
Week 11.
Well, I mean, yeah, not this actual past week, but 2 weeks because he's been out for 2 weeks.
Got
So
it.
dating back to week 10, he didn't take Murray out, right? So starting QB slots week, is posting to 0. I think because he played you this week. I think that didn't affect the outcome of that game. Spoiler alert, neither of this happened, but neither of the games were affected by it. But when you're going for top pick, regardless of who the top players are, just like with top spots, people can get really feisty with wanting that first overall pick, or just they want things to remain fair.
You want things to be played out right.
Yeah. It was brought to my attention. This individual has had zero problems with. I played with him for 5+ years through multiple leagues, and it's just never been an issue at all.
No.
This individual works, full-time job in the food industry. So
a lot of hours, not a lot of time to sit on his phone.
Yeah, it's not like me.
Right.
Yeah, where I'm the exact opposite in terms of being able to be on my phone. I'm on my phone constantly because I have to be.
Yep.
So it got missed. Murray that week was a true game time decision. There was shades of him going out, but regardless, didn't happen. My first mistake is I should have probably reached out and said something then, but knowing this individual, I thought for sure we'd be fine. So again, mistake one. If you notice an issue, just bring it up respectfully. Don't be a dick about it. Be respectful. Say, hey, I know it's this. This guy brought it to my attention.
Everything okay?
Yeah. And then come Monday night, again, a Cardinals playing Monday night. It's a lot different than week 10, whereas it was, I think, a noon game or a 3:25 game.
It was a 3:25. It was a 3:25. Ask me how.
Yeah.
We'll get to how I know that in a second.
Yeah. This week, obviously Monday night this week for week 11, obviously Cardinals are playing and no more games left. And he's still in. Davis Mills has already obviously played. Now I am literally waiting to see if he picks up Colt McCoy because he doesn't have Colt McCoy yet. And no one picked him up.
And Colt McCoy is available.
He was on
Yes,
waivers.
I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
One QB league, you won't get backups generally picked up. Doesn't happen. Obviously, at this point, I've had multiple people reach out to me wanting to basically pick up McCoy and put him in a spot with just out of it. So at this point, I'm messaging them. This is the individual at hand. Told them I'm going to create a poll and we're going to let the league mates decide. if we should put in McCoy. I should pick up and put in McCoy. He calls me immediately. He feels horrible. Like, again,
Yeah.
this guy, no issues before he calls me up. He completely forgot about it again. Food industry super slammed.
14 leagues too.
Yeah, he's in a
Plus,
lot. Yeah.
That's just football plus fantasy basketball and some other stuff.
Yeah. So as someone who understands the grind of many leagues, there are leagues that you are going to favor more. Just like the children you love more, you're going to favor them more than the ones that
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I know I tell you that, yeah, right?
I love my
No,
son.
no,
I love my son the most.
yeah, that's right. And this is league is not competitive in. So, you go through the motions through the leagues. You're going to set lineups. Guys that are questionable, you're going to have in. Because in their mind, in my mind, when I go through this, you're setting the best roster you can.
And then you adjust.
Sometimes,
You adjust from that. Yeah.
that's absolutely. So he calls me. We talk. He says, we apologize. I asked him, this is okay. He says, yes. So I do it. And this is where, the two people involved that reached out to me were happy about it. And this is where Hopper took some concerns to it. And I'll let you,
Yeah. So I didn't see the poll or anything like that because I was also working all day on Monday. Super slammed.
I also deleted, which is, again, probably a mistake. I deleted the pool after everything was figured because I was in a one-track mind of getting this salt.
Right. So I saw Sean say I didn't get a chance to vote, and then I just saw Commissioner Powers used to do this. And so the story I told myself, shout out Brene Brown, if you don't know what the story I tell myself is, the story you make up for a situation. The story I told myself is Dan forgot to put him in. Is that the person, it wasn't you, the person forgot to put him in, reached out, because he forgot to put him in, said, holy crap, I forgot this, and then it was done. Not that somebody else reached out. So I had a situation the week before. This is not, to my knowledge, called out in bylaws anywhere, how this gets handled. I had a situation the week before. It was very similar, but not quite the same. So this league has kickers, because Dan and I, being fans of teams in the NFC North, both understand the good value of kickers. So this league has kickers, and I'm a fringe playoff team. I had Matt Prater in my lineup week 10, when he was questionable, and on Sunday morning he was ruled out. Tristan Vizcaíno promoted before the 325 game. With it being a 325 game, I missed it. I caught it later that night that I had missed that. And I don't know who it would have been that I would have picked up off waivers. There would have been somebody there. Ended up losing that week by 6 points. So it's viable that, kicker is the difference in that game for a fringe team. So when I see this happen, my concern is this isn't called out in the bylaws anywhere, and I just ate one for making the same mistake of not putting somebody in. If we can get bailed out in that situation, because again, I don't know that other people have reached out at this point. I'm like, if we can get bailed out in that situation, where's my bailout? Can we go pick me a kicker up off waivers and put him in and steal that win for me? Because it has playoff implications, right? I'm in this mess of teams that are fighting to make the playoffs. So, it's got big implications. And so respectfully, I say pretty much that. Like, I'm not being accusatory of anybody doing anything. I'm just like, if this is allowed, like, why didn't we know this was allowed? And I kind of sarcastic, because I know Dan's not going to go back 2 weeks, and Fleury isn't going to go back 2 weeks and, fix a lineup from 2 weeks ago. We talk about this shit enough. That's stupid. He's not going to go back and do that.
Yeah.
But the principle of the matter is, if this can happen for this guy, why can't this happen for me now? Why couldn't I have, when I realized I made a mistake and missed it because I was busy and not paying attention, gotten this done? So I call that concern. And Dan's like, Fleury is like, yeah, I see your point. He's like, I see this is the box that I didn't want to open by doing this. And then one of the gentlemen fighting for the first round pick is like, okay, but why should I be punished from this dude sitting an invalid lineup or starting an invalid lineup? So it's a situation like, okay, I see that too. Why should you miss out on the 101 because somebody set an invalid lineup, but why should he get the bailout of picking somebody up off waivers, the commissioner picking somebody off waivers and starting him when I just lost a game from that exact same scenario where somebody was in my lineup that didn't play and I missed that they didn't play. And
Oh, was it? Wait, before we go any further, was this both in the same league or is this two separate
same
leagues?
league.
This is the same league.
Okay.
Same league.
I'm
Yep,
trying, all right.
Same league.
So it's like, why does, if this is going to be how this works, then we should have known this is how this worked from week 1, so that if you miss something, you got it corrected. We all know that if we miss something and say it right away, if there's a technical error or something like that, but if we're just not paying attention, for me, it's like, all right, I got to eat that. That's why I didn't say anything, because I wasn't paying attention. I knew he was questionable. That's on me. I got to eat that. So anyway, bring it up, and then we discussed it a little bit more. And, really, my big issue with the move is that somebody was picked up off waivers.
Yeah.
To make that change. Not somebody that was already rostered, because it's not just, and again, I didn't know other people had reached out, but to me, it's like, okay, not only did you not make that roster change, you weren't even prepared to make that lineup change. You weren't prepared to start Colt McCoy over Kyler Murray. Kyler's not been playing for 2 weeks, and you didn't roster him. So you weren't even prepared to do that. So why do you get the bailout? And everything Dan said is true. This is a guy that, has never been an issue setting lineups. Everybody in this league is very attentive. Not going to do anything malicious, but the end result of that was something happening that I could have benefited from a week ago and didn't and couldn't. So call it out, talk it over. We ended up landing on the solution that, putting Colt McCoy in wasn't the right move. Swap in Davis Mills instead because he was already on the roster. Treat it like dude was incapacitated for some reason. Put in the guy that's already on his roster, and play it that way, because then it's a valid lineup. The other guy fighting for the 101's appeased. I'm appeased because you didn't pick somebody up off waivers. It's not a perfect solution because Davis Mills had already played, but it's the best solution you can have. It also gives him the benefit of the doubt because he was busy and he was working. That's where we landed. But
All right, yeah, that makes more sense now.
Yeah.
I like that way. I would like that way better.
Yeah, I mean, so during this, obviously very transparent. This has been a decision that weighed on me the whole time because, as Hopper pointed out, it was, I don't want to subject to now having to play God for people,
right.
if they fuck up. Now, obviously, we're gonna. It's funny enough. I pulled up the bylaws because I still have them. I have them written down. If you start an invalid roster, you're gonna get a warning, right? And subject to being potentially kicked out if this is a reoccurring issue. Obviously, I haven't looked at the bylaws in a while. This league has turned into everyone knows everybody, besides, for the most part, or has played with each other long enough to where this isn't just a random league. And Hopper brought up a fantastic point of this would have been handled differently had this not been a group of friends. Yes. And that is where what's really started to turn my gears is that even if someone asked me that on here, I don't know what I would answer, because even when it seems potentially obvious, there's a lot of context that goes through it.
Yep.
And if you're not a commissioner, not have gone through that or gone something close to that, you're not going to get the insight of having to deal with that before. And also, no matter how much you no matter how fine-tuned you set your bylaws, yeah, no matter how much you read that, yeah, no matter how much you set up your bylaws and how specific you are, something's going to happen.
Gonna be shit that's not covered.
Yeah. And that's why you should always talk. That's why, even though I don't think I handled it right.
That's why we talked.
We talked. We even voted on the removing of Colt McCoy for Mills. I'll be honest. We didn't get enough votes. No one voted, but 5 people voted. That's it. So I kept it because it didn't reach majority.
It didn't matter. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it didn't matter because the Cardinals defense, which was used to play against him, went negative. So regardless of the 0 spot or player in there or not, the outcome would have remained the same.
Yes.
Well, that doesn't matter. It's context, and you want to have accountability, and you want to be consistent with your decision making. So, for the listeners out there that are commissioners or want to commission the league, this doesn't happen often. I've ran this league for 6 years. This is the first time this has ever happened. It is not a common thing. And even if you know people, this isn't common. Make bylaws. You want to have bylaws. Let the league be able to see them, obviously have access to them. And then every single year, go over them. And everyone in your league should. Honestly, everyone should. And then go through to make sure that you do the best you can to keep it as competitively fair as possible.
And vote on changes, because that was the first thing that we all agreed on, is we need to vote on how to handle this in the future as far as, what type of adjustments will be made.
And I have ideas.
Yeah.
For what I want to do.
For me, from my stance, so even if you're playing in a league and you see something that you don't agree with, challenge it respectfully. You don't need to make accusations, personal attacks, throw a fit, anything like that. Just, challenge it respectfully. I was challenging it on principle of, all right, regardless, if this type of change can be made, it should have been made, known that this type of change can be made, because then I would have taken advantage of it to pick up a win potentially a week ago. May not have mattered, but it's the principle of the matter of, if this is going to be applied in week 11, we should have known we could do this the entire season. Yeah. And the reason that I asked you the way that I did about would you do, what would you say if this was asked on the show, is because I was surprised you did it, because we talk about this stuff a lot.
Yeah. A
lot. So I like to think I have a feel for where you'd land on certain things, and I was honestly surprised that was how that went. It caught me off guard a little bit because of how much we talk about it and just kind of where that landed. Now, again, the piece of context that I was missing was that, other people had reached out to you, that it wasn't the team owner that had reached out to you, or the team manager that had reached out to you to make that change. It was an opponent or another league mate that did it. That was the context that I was kind of missing, because I thought that, the team owner had reached out to you.
Yeah.
Is where I was at. Either way, it doesn't really change, the fact. But I guess my advice on that situation is, if you're going to challenge something, challenge it respectfully. And like Dan said, if you're a commissioner, talk it over with the league. Make sure it's something that's agreeable to most. Now, it's going to be hard to find something that's agreeable to everybody, but make sure it's something that's agreeable to most. And if you're going to challenge something, there's no need for... there's no need to make it personal.
Yep. So that was what I dealt with
too. And a fun thing you can do too is do like a rule where every team must field like a starting roster, or there's like some sort of fine. Don't kick them out, but say there's a fine. Because
I do warnings, and it's not like I haven't dealt with this before, where I've had owners who don't.
I've had people self-report this year.
Yeah.
Last year, I had somebody through multiple warnings to it. I don't do the fines thing. I don't do it like
you just straight up booted him and said you're not coming back next year. And we got a replacement. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't want the draft to be affected because someone made a mistake.
Right.
And if it's through multiple mistakes, I don't want to play with you, because what's to stop you from doing this again? Yep. And what's stopping from it being a further detriment? If you don't want to play, don't just tell me. Like I ask everybody, nearly everybody every year. Most people I can decide by this point they're going to play next year, but I'll ask people, and they'll say, "Yeah, I'm in." All right, cool. At that point, if you go through multiple problems with your lineups and inactive lineups, and I've given you multiple warnings, I'll pay your money back. In the bylaws, I even said I'm not giving you money back. At this point, it's $25. I will give you your money back, and I will boot you out the league, because I don't really fucking care anymore. Like, if you don't take it seriously, I want you gone.
Yeah.
And I don't I don't want to keep giving people second chances, and then no.
Yeah, and that was not this situation.
No,
this is not a situation where...
That one was an honest mistake, because I had the same thing happen in one of my leagues where I had an inactive roster.
I've done it this year by accident.
I didn't pay attention.
We all do it, yeah.
Shit, I did it 2 weeks ago. That's why I had a legitimate argument.
Yeah. It
I had a
happens.
Saturday night. I had a Saturday night inactive, and I didn't go up and pick up anyone the next day because I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
I mean-
oh, because it was an IDP league, and I didn't think of the IDP player, and I forgot that the other guy I had too was already out, and so I get an email that Monday morning saying I set a legal lineup. I'm gonna have to pay a $5 fee to drop a guy, pick up the guy who's projected for the next highest points, and also pay a $25 fee on top of that. But they said since it's my first violation, they go, we're just going to waive it, but let you know that, hey, the
Yeah.
rule is in the bylaws. Go read it. And I'm like, oh,
If it's
shit.
in the bylaws, it's all fair in games, right?
Yeah.
And that's really what
That'd be a cool thing to do,
put
as like a charity pot too.
but to put a bow on it,
You did the right
the
thing.
bylaws, just
Yeah.
At the
and
end,
then yes,
at the end of the day, it ended up, I think, right. I think that had we come here and talked about the situation, Ryan, I guess, yeah, you agree with the end outcome, and yeah, I just think if you have a valid player on your bench, that should be the first default. That's what we're going to vote on later on. But if you have a valid player on your bench, that should be the first default, and it's just a matter. But in any event,
I didn't
like
even
it.
think that.
It
I
landed.
didn't even think that. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I didn't even think like it was always about is he going to pick up Colt McCoy, and
Right.
that was where my mind was at. Like literally, it was I want to get this taken care of.
right.
I didn't even think about the outcome. I knew what could happen in the future, but nothing crossed my mind. And this is also why, as League Mates, you should be looking at other people. Like you should help.
Oh yeah,
I won't say police, but you should definitely make sure. Like sometimes your league mates, as we just talked about, will just forget. You want to do a friendly reminder.
I had
Yeah.
that in another one of our leagues where it's weird. It's like a league that's a hybrid of a bunch of other leagues I play in. That's like a mishmash of the people from those. Where, I took over an orphan that's in contention for the number 1 pick, and there was somebody else in contention for the number 1 pick. And the week that I played them, I saw that they had people in their lineup, Marquise Brown, that had been out for multiple weeks by that point in time. So I went back and looked and noticed that, they were like 3-4 weeks in and not setting an invalid lineup. So that's just or not setting a valid lineup. So that's just a message to the commissioner and, the guy that's helping co-commish it, hey, just noticed this, can you reach out and, take care of this because, this isn't right. I'm setting a valid lineup every week and I'm still in the number 1 spot, but this is the closest person for it and they're not. But yeah, commissioner can't check 12 teams every week in addition to their own. It's a lot of work. So you got to, help out and just report it up. It's not being a narc. I think everybody that plays fantasy sports seriously wants to play them correctly, fairly, and consistently.
Exactly.
And this dude was super apologetic too, by the way. It definitely was not malicious, and it never crossed my mind that it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So assume positive intent, and we'll leave it at that. Let's go ahead and get into the news. We're going to get to what I have written down, and then if we can think of anything else I missed, we'll hit that. So starting off, Leonard Fournette, doubtful for Sunday's game against the Browns. That means Rachaad White will draw a start. Keyshawn Vaughn will back him up, and I have a boner just reading that.
Right?
Again, Leonard Fournette cannot be active for all games. He is yet. That streak is still going.
Yes,
Wait till we get to the DFS side of this. You're going to love it.
God. Oh, yeah, he's going to be cheap.
You're going to be cheap.
But he's
White?
going to be super chalk everywhere. That's like, and cash is great. When you play in those big ass prize pools is where you want to, it does factor into how many times he's in your lineup. But anyways, Rachaad White to the moon. As Hopper mentioned, he can't contain himself. I've been popping a boner for 12 days now.
Oh yeah.
Not going to overland.
Probably should see a doctor. Probably should see a doctor by this point.
You're good.
I'm not dead right now. So
As long as it's not turning purple, you're fine.
Just won't go down.
Jerry Jeudy is going to miss week 12 against Carolina, so he's been out the last couple weeks. He is going to miss again. Not a whole lot to get into there. Kyler Murray and Marquise Brown set to return from injury this week, and the Cardinals will be at full strength for the first time all season.
gonna be fun. We're gonna see what they're made of. They're
I'm really curious with Hopkins and Brown how that's gonna pan out.
It's a tough road to the playoffs for them with their loss last on Monday night. So
Actually, they're not at full strength. They don't have Zach Ertz, but from a wide receiver perspective, full strength.
this is the best they've had all
The best
year.
they've been all year from
From a health wide receiver, from a playmaker standpoint.
personnel standpoint, we'll say it, because
Yeah.
Hopkins got himself suspended. But either way, it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to see how that target volume plays out. We know that Marquise Brown was very, very viable in the absence of Hopkins. Dortch actually another good game last week. So I mean, this off with Colt McCoy, so this offense probably can support 2 wide receivers, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Deshaun Watson set to return from suspension this week. He has not necessarily been named the starter, but I think all expectations are that he's going to start. This one's also going to be interesting too, keeping it purely football related, because dude hasn't taken a snap in a year and a half.
It should be next week, right? I think he's set to return next week.
Yeah,
Is it next
against
week?
Houston.
Are we in week
Yeah,
11?
'cause We're in week 12.
We're in week 12, right?
He comes back week
I
13.
thought it was
13.
an 11-game suspension.
It is because they had the bye. The bye is part of their
got
bye.
it.
Or it's part of the 11 games.
Got it. I'm thrown off. Okay, he'll be back next week against Houston. Ignore that. I can't count. I'm thinking week 12. He's missed 11 weeks. I forgot about the bye week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Njoku back this week, so we know what that was with Jacoby Brissett, so that'll be good for tight ends.
Woo!
Justin Fields, true game time decision, and Bears beat reporters said they do not expect him to start.
She should. They should shut him down. Honestly, this is as someone who's not a Bears fan but a huge Fields fan, obviously make that very well known. I think we've seen a lot from him. I think we've seen enough to say that the Bears should make a real attempt to stick with him and shut him down this season. Try to solidify a top draft pick and make those decisions there. Obviously, they finish high enough they could yield the chance to trade back or continue to add legitimate players either to the O-line, receiving core, probably, even across the D-line and linebackers.
Yeah. What you're looking at right now is draft position, and they are still in contention for even the number 2 overall pick. And if things break really right, they could still be in contention for the number 1 overall pick, but you still have a top 3 pick. You're not going to make the playoffs this year. You've seen the last 4 weeks the development of Justin Fields and what he can do. There's no positive and no upside that I can see to starting him. Yes, it's the non-throwing shoulder, but the way he plays, there's a huge risk of entering that more. I'm not a doctor, just from his play style. And, for the Bears right now, it's all about draft position. And, the Bears this year, it was all about draft position and the development of Justin Fields because, like you just mentioned, they need pass rush, they need linebacking help, they need wide receiver help. O-line's actually been good, surprisingly.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
they got help that they need across the board. They don't need a quarterback, so if they get a top 2 pick, you can get a haul to trade back. But for the good of the franchise and looking at this long term, the best thing that they can do is sit Justin Fields. You've seen enough out of his development and out of him, and you've seen a ton about the character this year. He's the guy. And I don't think there's any question that he's the guy for the next, 5 to 8 years, depending on his longevity because of his play style. So now you got to build around him, and you're going to do that through the draft. So I outside of Velus Jones, the regime showed that they could draft. The Brisker's been great. Their defensive picks have played very, very well. Their O-line moves have panned out very, very well. The only thing that's bitten them is Velus Jones. Got to get a real wide receiver.
Yep.
But yeah, there's no reason to play Fields. None.
You don't think they jump for Will Anderson Jr. at pick 2 that they had for get the edge player? Now with
They could.
They could.
Robert Quinn and was like basically they trained away their 2 defensive players that they had.
They need pass rush, and they absolutely could. I don't know how deep edge is this year, but I think, yeah, it just depends. I don't think they would move out for a quarterback needy for a non QB needy team, but if they get a QB needy team that comes calling, maybe. Again, I don't know how deep edge is, but they
He's one
have
of many, but he's the best of the best of them.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is that they have the secondary, right? So if they can get a pass rush, all of a sudden that defense is in great shape.
Yeah, that's why I think they would go with that too. Because the Lions, they won't trade up the Lions. The Lions won't. I mean, they have the Rams pick. The Rams pick as of right now is up to 6.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The other thing there as well is for the Bears, it's going to depend a lot on what the free agent class looks like. I don't know what free agent pass rushers look like either, but they've got a lot to weigh because they have all this cap space, and if they're going to have draft capital to go with it, they can slice that however they want to.
Yeah,
they're in a great
absolutely.
spot, and this is going to be Ryan Poles' to make or screw up. But they can slice that however they want to, so it's going to depend on free agency as well, if they might want to move back from that pick.
God, the amount, $50 million more than the second team with the highest. It's Atlanta. They have 116 million. Atlanta's got 66.
I'm excited because you figure a top 3 pick with the most cap space, and you already have your quarterback, and you have a really good secondary. Like, that roster already has pieces. I smell a competitive window coming.
It's all it's gonna hinge on
how they draft,
how they spend, it's gonna start with how the free agent pool lines up for their key spots. Wide receiver is pretty thin, right now.
That's why I want them to take away. That's why I want them to go wide receiver in the draft with who's the dude that made Pickett look good? Jordan Addison.
Yeah,
and Smith and Jigba.
There's and I didn't ever see the draft, so we've seen teams go super heavy, all in on spending, and at times it doesn't work out. You still got to find the right chemistry and mesh. I think Poles has made, you can't get them all right. We talked about Velus Jones, but I think the decisions that have been made, even with the trading of Quinn and Smith, have really pointed to this team as we're going to rebuild through the offense, and then we'll have, if they feel confident enough with how they draft their defense and their rotational pieces that they can figure that out.
It's the Bucs where the defense lagged behind the offense a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a common build right now with how the rules are set, with how the league's moving towards that. So it's I think it is better to build through that offense, become explosive. You're asking your defense not to be the best for 60 minutes, but you're asking your defense to make the key plays. And that's why we've seen teams like Minnesota be 9-2.
And for that offense, right? Looking at the wide receiver core, if the line's already good, the quarterback's already good, and you've got your 2 running backs deep, although Montgomery's probably going to walk, so you need somebody. But Herbert's good and still on a rookie deal. All you need is that top-end wide receiver because Moody and Claypool are completely fine as a 2 and a 3.
But you're also going to have to overpay for them, though, because Chicago's not like a destination area that people want to go play at. So it could be like a Christian Kirk type of deal again.
Well, what makes you say that, right? You've got a offense on the up and up, a QB on the up and up that's a proven leader, and you see a team entering a competitive window. If you're a free agent, why would you not go play for him? But I'm not talking free agency. I'm talking I want him to draft a top-end receiver and then fix the pass rush in free agency.
I mean, I think with the trading of Claypool, they're not locked into taking a receiver day one. And it does give them the flexibility to go, with the trenches pieces, O-line, D-line, and just continue to build the depth there, which we know is the most important thing. Is that's kind of where you want to start building from anyway.
D-line specifically, because the O-line actually, Justin Fields has had more time in a clean pocket to throw than anybody else when I looked at the stats a couple weeks ago. And they were, I think, top 8 in run blocking.
It's insane. It's insane when you watch the games because if it does not, it's like it's the same thing, when with me when it comes to Minnesota. It just not it doesn't feel that way.
Well, and
Right.
when you look at the numbers,
all.
though, also the problem was that this goes back to Fields' development as a passer, and I'm going to continue to harp on this. Right, the receivers don't separate, so he's a see it and then do it type of guy, and he was also, I think, leading the league in basically time that he was holding the ball. It was like 2.7 seconds or something like that on average for him to get a pass off. So it looks bad because he's always under pressure, but he's under pressure because he doesn't have anybody that can separate, so he's not getting rid of the football.
It's funny because you go to his
That's what the numbers said.
His player profile page, he's 29th in protection rate.
Which
this
is
is all. This is protection when this is forced to throw the ball within 3 seconds. Up to 3 seconds.
Which I guess it depends on how you slice it, because I don't know what they're putting into that. But looking in the raw metrics on Pro Football Reference, again, this is as of a couple weeks ago. He was like, it was under 3 seconds, but everyone was under 3 seconds. It was like 2.7 seconds of clean pocket time that he had, which led the league.
Yeah, I think this is where things get, because it's the same thing with like Minnesota. Like it's a very much you can slice up the way some stats play out to obviously tell a different story. We've done this constantly. It gets talked about constantly. You can create a narrative with whatever you want about anything based around how you want to portray your stats and how you want to just portray the narrative in which you're trying to tell. And I'm always in agreement that there isn't enough O-line depth. Like no team has enough O-line depth. Like how we talk about in fantasy where we have running backs. There is not enough depth, and the importance of having, those depth pieces on O-line and on D-line, it creates a massive difference. Your tackles and guards, they can play swing positions. Guys, they can play all 5 spots in the line because obviously each spot's different for each player, and it's very unique. And the style of play that Justin Fields plays, generally, I think, leads to longer hold times because he wants to play to develop, and he's confident enough to know that he can take off and run when he needs to.
Yes.
It's the same thing we talk about with Lamar Jackson. Russell Wilson was in the same boat to start his career. He took too many sacks because he held the ball on for too long. But he makes massively big plays where,
and then you got Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett, who are near the tops of the league in separation.
Golden Tate, the beginning part of his career.
Golden Tate too.
And it's just,
you
got to be careful when you get too invested in the stats. And it's not, just to you, obviously. It's to everybody where, like, you got to be careful with how you want to create a narrative.
I think we're both the same, that he needs plays to develop quicker. Not even him seeing him. He needs them to develop quicker. But I'm looking at it now as of today. So he has fallen back a little bit in pocket time, which pocket time is defined as average time the QB has between the snap and throwing the ball or the pocket collapses. He's fallen back to 10th at 2.4 seconds. That was 2.7 a couple weeks ago, so pretty sharp decline the last couple weeks. But in pressure rate, 28.8%, which still tells me that if you are second in the amount of times you're being pressured, but you're 10th in the amount of time that you have, things aren't developing quick enough for you. Those numbers, I would think you would want to be relatively far apart between, this is the amount of pocket time I have and this is the amount of pressure I'm under. The more pocket time you have, the less pressure you should be under. So to be top 10 in both, that just says that the play is not developing fast enough or you're not seeing it. And it could be either one. I tend to think it's not developing fast enough because of the wide receivers and they need somebody that can separate.
Yeah, I agree.
That was a lot on Justin Fields.
No, he is Bay. So.
It's exciting. Ryan, you got anything to add to that?
Ryan's
muted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Needs
Joe Mixon ruled out this weekend against the Titans, which is another chubby for me because that means we got Samaje Perine starting.
Hooray, my fantasy teams, as I picked up Samaje Perine.
I did in at least one spot. Because
I have to.
Samaje Perine's like OG draft crush Bay from 2017 for me. So
Yep. He just kind of he's able to become a journeyman running back and kind of
Third down roll.
somehow, some way earn a third round though, just given his profile. I'm shocked.
He found
by
a
it,
home. He got 3 touchdowns last week.
but I know.
Yeah, all 4 catches.
It's insane. He
was
gets
nuts.
he gets a decent matchup.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't allowed a touchdown though in like since week 2, so to running backs. That's the only downside.
Titans.
Yeah.
I
Titans'
think
defense
they've allowed
good.
they've allowed no touchdowns the past 4 weeks. They've actually been pretty good against the run the last 4 weeks. Well, either way, and they're supposed to potentially get Jamar Chase back. The offense opens up more with him returning, puts
Jesus.
everyone in the
They've
right
allowed
spot.
1 rushing touchdown all season.
It's not like Pirine needs rushing touchdowns to be productive. He didn't get any last week. All receiving, it's all matters.
They've allowed 1 receiving touchdown all season. To Damian Pierce of all people.
Things that don't make sense.
Right? So they're great against the run. All right. Rams released Darrell Henderson. He signed with Jacksonville.
It's such a like the Rams cut 2 starters. I think it was their starting center too. I think there's someone on the O line.
I mean,
It's like
did you really notice on the offensive line? There's no difference.
I know, which is fine. It's not like Henderson. Like Henderson, I've never been a fan of. So
It's not his fault. No running backs have been productive there.
no, and it again.
He's
McVay
the
is
most
his,
productive one.
yeah. That's not saying much either. Sadly.
No.
Well, and here's the problem, right? You have no draft picks. It was going to catch you eventually. And watching this team, watching the Rams last year, my concern was the O-line. Especially once Whitworth was gone, because the O-line was old. And you can't really address that other than through the draft. Like, difference makers in O-line free agency don't come that often. And, yeah, I think that's been their biggest problem this year, has been, the O-line can't pass block, and the damn sure can't run block. You haven't had a Rams running back that's given you a productive week, I think, all season.
No, I think Cam Akers had his best week last week with 61 total yards.
Yeah. So that O-line is a problem. And if the O-line ain't working, you don't got a superstar running back there. You don't got a stud running back. I mean, look, people like Cam Akers. My knock on Cam Akers coming out of the draft was he needed an O-line to get those chunk plays. They don't have one.
Hell, he didn't have one at Florida State. Like he has. I don't know when the last time he played with the goal line, because he was obviously hurt for the entire year last year until the
Middle
end.
school?
Maybe. Because
Pee-wee.
yeah, at Pee Wee. Nothing should change anything about the Jags though. Should be ETN's show. Henderson will probably take a week or 2 to get up to speed.
There'll be a change of pace back.
There'll be a chance of pace, which is what he's been. Like, McVay's. If there's one thing that we can say about McVay, and when it comes to things, is he's been consistent on Darrell Henderson, is that he's nothing more than a change of pace back that can at times handle a 65% workload.
But it's like it's Cam Akers on the up and up, even though there's no offensive line to be up and up on. I mean, was he going to go up to 2.7 yards per carry?
Rodney,
So
maybe Jake Funk got healthy.
So
Maybe
maybe
we got Bryce Perkins back there
so just based off volume, he's a mid to low RB2.
at best.
Like he's Najee Harris.
You're hoping he falls
On a
into the
worse
end zone.
offense, because there's no Cup, there's no Stafford.
Oh, Akers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's an RB2 per volume. And he's part of the lines of Damian Pierce and Najee Harris, where there's not enough catch volume to even, prop him up.
So this will change at some point, but right now their active running backs are Cam Akers, Kyron Williams, and that's it.
Maybe they'll pick up Melvin Gordon, even though I think Melvin Gordon is going to go to a contender. He made it through waivers, so
Kansas City.
But why? They already have a better version of him in Isaiah Pacheco right now. He'll want to play with a team that he can just probably back up. Like there's no way he's going to sign as a starter anywhere. So outside of maybe bad teams.
He's going back to the Chargers. He's gonna help Austin
Good.
Eckler.
Yeah, it made the most sense. Has he played with Brandon Staley? Was he there when Brandon Staley took over as the OC? I guess not OC, but as the play caller.
Maybe his last year there.
That'd be the
I
only.
thought he was already
thing.
gone by then.
He left in 2019, I think, is when he went to Denver, right? 19, yeah. No, yes, though, yeah, should be 19. I think he's went to Denver.
19 was his last season in LA.
Okay, just kidding. Then, so he's been there for 2.
And he did.
Well, he's been there longer than 2 years. That's why.
Right. It feels like 3 or 4
Well,
years.
I guess actually it has been 3 years. 2020, 21, 20. Yeah, so it's been 3 years. Never mind. I was
It's been 3 years, and he
Those
did
are
not
operations.
play for Staley.
Okay. That might, I mean, it shouldn't change much. He'll just beat the backup, I guess, if he goes there. Maybe they'll get rid of Sony Michelle then.
Yeah. But Isaiah Spiller. Oh wait.
Hurt.
No, he's back.
Is he back? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, he's been healthy last couple
Okay.
weeks. Just not noticeable. Weird how that happened.
Weird.
Guess I should read the next line on this news report, huh? Taylor
There we
Heineke. Did we talk? So I honestly couldn't remember. Did we talk Taylor Heineke last week?
No.
Yes, we did.
We did?
Yeah.
No, you're right. We did. Rule the starter.
Yeah.
No matter
Moving
what, even
forward.
if Wentz comes back, he's
And
still
Wentz
starting.
is being activated. Yeah, Spiller's been healthy the last 2 weeks, by the way. He's had 4 carries each game, and yeah, it has not gone well. 4 carries for 3 yards in week 10 and 4 carries for 11 yards.
Ooh.
22 total yards, though, in week 11.
Ooh.
Ooh,
He's coming on up.
explosive games.
Zach Wilson.
I mean, he had a like, I get the people getting mad that the question was asked during the press conference because he's still heated and obviously still emotional after the game. But that was a softball.
That was a softball.
I'm sorry. Like Justin Fields got asked the same. He
didn't get asked the same question.
Not the same
He
question,
just-
but-
he just apologized in the locker room.
Yeah, it's and I'm not going to compare the two. We'll go back to just Zach Wilson, but it's.
But he's 5-2 as a starter. Remember how we were talking about this in our
Yeah,
text chat?
he's 5-2 as a starter. Mostly on the defense. He's apparently had the yips since the spring for, like, just things haven't been right.
Seems like nothing's been right with him.
Yeah,
It was I don't think playing in that market it's good for him either. You know, he comes from playing at BYU, obviously independent school, played soft schedules. Like I've had my concerns about Wilson. We know what the
In New
upsides
York,
look
yeah.
like. And then you go to New York, or I guess in this case New Jersey. But obviously team says New York on it, and they can be pretty visceral with how they have. And they've been desperate. Like when was the last time they've had a quarterback that they've drafted that they've been successful with? Mark Sanchez for 2 years, but it's the same story with Wilson, except it just took longer for them to get rid of him.
yeah, and the defense is so freaking good that you would be better off starting game manager Flacco, who just doesn't turn the ball over. So going to Mike White, I think is the right decision because he has given you a little bit more upside than either of the other two guys. And just see what you get for Wilson. You know, there are a couple of things that are obvious to me about Zach Wilson. One, he needed to be humbled.
Yeah.
And you hope
Yeah.
that kicks in something different. Or when he gets the next chance, that, you know, he can make something of it. But if he's really not right, he needs that pressure off of him to just sit back, chill, and get it right. And I don't know if that happens with the Jets. I don't know if that's with his next team. I don't know what that looks like. But, you know, Salah obviously saw something too that said this guy's not right, and he's not right.
Yeah, I don't know if it's more of a mental thing to him or if it's actual physical, like you guys said about being in the whole New York market. Like, does he feel like he has to try to force? Because like those throws he had last week, and then I didn't watch any of the game, but I was watching the highlights. It was just like they were either underthrown, overthrown, or weren't even anywhere near on target.
Well,
Like, he's
and
missed,
and that's the yips, right? I mean, you got the yips, your mechanics are off, and I mean the most famous version of this is in baseball, three-can keel, but your mechanics are off, you have no confidence in what you're doing, and you just miss everything.
Yeah,
It's a mental thing.
Yeah, and I don't know if playing in that type of market is going to work. I don't know if it works wherever he goes. He's still the number 2 pick. He gets constantly. It's going to be the same comparisons to Lance, to Fields, to Jones, and to and to Lawrence. This QB class as a whole has been shit on pretty heavily since they were all drafted and played last year. And he's getting compared, like his comparisons is to Darnold, is the role, like he's being compared to very
Darnold,
famous,
Rosen, Locke.
Marcus Russell.
Yeah, draft bust.
Not as
Like,
bad as Russell, but Darnold, Rosen,
No.
Locke. Yeah.
It's almost Ryan Leaf-esque. Obviously, Leaf was more.
Leaf was
It was very
hilarious on
confident.
Twitter talking about
Yeah.
how, but
It's. I hope that he can bounce back. He can learn something. Maybe he pulls a Tua. I mean, Tua wasn't this bad, but there was some, there was some confidence. There's, when you're constantly being benched and starting, pulled in games for a closer, like that's going to fuck with the player's confidence, tenfold, especially at a position in which you need your quarterback to be the most confident player out there.
right.
And we'll see. Like, I hope so, because I don't want to see any player, fail at all. But
Not at all.
it's the Jets are in a position to where it feels very likely they're going to go veteran quarterback next year. They hit their defensive window sooner than they probably project, which is fine for them because they have great playmakers on offense. They're going to get Brees back. You have Wilson Moore. You have a good offensive line when they're healthy. And they're going to be the next, Panthers, Washington, Minnesota, where they're going to look at this and go, we're a quarterback away. We're going to see what that looks like.
Yeah, they're going to go trade for Carson Wentz.
Wentz, Cousins, they're going to sign Garoppolo.
The Panthers will trade for
Signing Garoppolo makes
Zach
sense.
Wilson.
They're actually going to trade for Sam Darnold.
Oh, yeah. Darnold, he's going to go. He's going to have a very rare good game, and then they're going to trade for him next year. Just
Baker Mayfield.
oh my god, yeah, because that's where he needs to play. That dude is broken. That dude is where Zach Wilson's heading to. It's Baker.
True.
Baker is completely fucking broken.
I don't know what happened to him, man.
It's
Eh,
Zach Wilson's headed
everything.
Zach Wilson's headed to Locke. I think that
Yeah, I can see that
there are a
too.
lot of parallels between those two coming out too. Just
Yeah,
game film and everything. To where
that's why you love them so much.
it is.
Yep. Yeah, Locke. Yeah, I agree. He's headed towards that potential territory pretty quickly.
Where he's gonna be a high round pick that's gonna end up as a backup someplace, just waiting for his next.
Fuck, they'll trade.
Anthem. We'll see.
They'll trade with Green Bay and get Aaron Rodgers to go there. Then we're gonna really get the rumors of the Brett Favre parallel.
That would be pretty funny.
That would be.
Steph, I would not enjoy this at all. I don't like. I don't. Please don't come here.
That's because the next logical step is Minnesota, or
Obviously, yeah, because that just makes the most sense. You're gonna follow Brett Favre. Said they don't have a Rodgers behind Brett Favre. It's gonna be Zach Wilson. Somehow, some way, Matt LaFleur is gonna be exposed as not a fraud, and then Zach Wilson's gonna be magically fixed.
Like, it's not working with Nathaniel Hackett at all.
Oh, God, I hope he get.
Hackett might be one and done because I can't hear it or us.
I can't believe he's
No,
even gonna make it that
no.
long.
That's the most egregious misuse of how good that team should be. Now, granted, injuries has not helped, but
The thing with Hackett too is he was never a good OC. He just had Rodgers and Devontae Adams. Like Hackett was responsible for Blake Bortles before that.
Hackett was like, I mean, Rodgers literally just he doesn't call his own plays, but if he doesn't like a play, he'll kill it and he'll check into something that he wants. That's what Rodgers does. That's how I mean, I like
a
him as a
quarterback knows how to read
person.
a
That's how
defense, that's how
fucking
it
good he.
works.
Yeah, that's how good he is. Like they're gonna check into something that makes sense of what the defense is showing you, and when he's constantly checking into something different, probably a sign that that your play
Oh.
caller ain't doing much.
My Jesus.
Oh, what happened?
I'm sitting here like, why the fuck am I buzzed off of half a beer? And then I read the ABV on this thing.
Yeah, it should be what 14-6.
14.6, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've not eaten today, Dan. I've had 2 McDonald's breakfast burritos.
it does that to you.
You need more
Jesus.
nutrition than that.
Yeah. To eat some Thanksgiving leftovers or something here in a minute.
There you go.
We'll fly through the news and we'll get through the game previews pretty quickly.
Bryce Perkins is going to start in place of an injured Matt Stafford this week. So Perkins, let's talk about him for a minute. Third string.
You actually had pros and cons about him.
Well, from the draft, yeah. So worked his way up to, I mean, he's obviously unseeded John Wolford, right? Or is Wolford hurt?
He's hurt, but I think he's slated to come back, and I think it's still going to be Perkins.
I think Perkins is a better option there.
I mean, he should be. He's younger. We haven't seen him yet.
So Perkins played at Arizona State, 6'3", 215. In 27 games, he threw for over 6,000 yards. He also ran for over 1,500. 750 plus rush yards both seasons at Virginia with 3,500 pass yards. So a true dual threat. And he overcame a broken neck with rehab to make it back to play. So he's tough. He's got decent arm strength. And he can throw on the run, too. Good sense for pressure, pocket awareness, eyes downfield, inside and outside of the pocket. He's athletic enough to make defenders miss, but he's not what I would consider like a true Konami code. He's like, I'm going to scramble if I want to. He has some athleticism, but he's not, this isn't Lamar or Fields we're talking about. He's a rhythm passer. He can also lose it entirely. Despite the fact that he sees the field well and has the arm talent, he's very, very rhythm-based, so he can be very inconsistent at times. So it's going to be interesting. I don't remember who they play this week. Because it is a dual-threat quarterback, you do have some streaming floor there.
The Chiefs.
Okay, it is the Chiefs. So you do have some streaming floor there, and if he's right, he can definitely make some throws. Without Cooper Kupp, I don't know how that's going to go. But he's a guy that I kind of profiled as being this tier of, probably going to stick around as a backup somewhere. Almost like in a Tyrod Taylor vein. So, there's some floor there with the rushing game, though. He's not bad. I didn't hate him coming out. I had him. Where did I have him ranked? Probably doesn't matter. We're going to do it.
Oof.
Yeah, I had him in tier 3. We'll put it that way.
I think for him, it's you can't expect much.
No.
People are going to look at this. It's going to be high. It's a high game spread. They should be playing from behind. The last thing you want to do is have Bryce Perkins throw the ball 50 times, right? It's not like he's at 50. Like he went 5 for 10 last week in relief duty. He's a career low 60s in completion percentage in college. He was a sub. He was a 7.7 was his highest yards per attempt. He's not a downfield passer. He probably could, right? If you ask him to, he can probably get the ball down there. If it's accurate, it's a different story. But I think it's you're playing them for the hopes that you can build off of the 5 rushes for 39 yards. You can kind of give you a Heineke, right? A Gardner Minshew, he gets you 5 to
Heineke's a pretty
10
good
rushes.
comparison. He's not as accurate as Minshew, I don't think. But
I know
Heineke's a good comparison.
It's more so going off of the profile of the quarterback, and kind of what I'm expecting is a low completion percentage, probably a couple turnovers, but you're hoping he gets a late touchdown or they score off a turnover, and he gives you enough rushing yards to kind of to fill out his day. He's not good for Scott Fishbowl. He's not going to be someone you want to play in high penalty for QBs.
If you're in Scott Fishbowl right now and you're in the playoffs,
I hope
you probably
yeah.
didn't have Stafford.
You probably, yeah, you're right.
No.
I for like, just again, those solid leagues, but I think there is some potential rushing potential. I see him probably being a 10+ rusher in this game. The Chiefs have a good pass rush, and it's going to be one of those, if you have your first read there, you throw it, otherwise you run. They're going to try to leave Casey without being embarrassed. They want to basically make sure that Casey doesn't cover. I think that should be the goal. Is don't embarrass yourself. One read and then go. If it's
I
not
think
there,
Casey's going to cover.
Well, yeah, I'm
I
not
mean,
going to tell people.
games in Arrowhead.
Yeah,
It's going to be hard.
They should.
Bryce Perkins, I don't see him getting anything over. I don't even see him getting any near or over double-digit fantasy points. I think he's held under.
He's a
QB
for him,
three
it's
at
all
best.
rushing. Yeah, like for him, it's all rushing. I don't think he's going to get you anywhere for passing, but I think for rushing, I think he could get you there.
I don't think he'll get you there for rushing. I think the way Andy Reid likes to coach, he'll learn he knows how to shut those players down.
It's Bryce.
He'll adapt.
I mean, it's not Josh Allen out there.
No, but he'll still figure it out. I mean, they have no running game. They're going to have no passing game. They're going to shut down. They'll shut him down. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah. For the first half, and then the backdoor cover, because that's what happens in these games.
Yeah.
All right, we got a question from Kyle here. Kyle Seener, I traded Aaron Jones for George Kittle. It's a full PPR league. Packers are done. They'll split more time with Dylan. So okay. What are your thoughts on basically trading Jones for Kittle in a full PPR league? He also has he's drafted Darren Waller. He has so his running backs. I'm just getting more information. I'm just kind of reading them out. It's got Monty, Pollard, Patterson, and Hunt as his running backs. So he moved Jones for Kittle.
I like Kittle because he's on the up and up, and Jones, I feel like it's just more of a touchdown or bust type of name. Like if he's not scoring touchdowns, he's not really doing anything for you anymore right now. As this Packers offense is dwindling down.
I'm gonna pull up Jones's.
I've got him pulled up right now, and 2 of the last 4 weeks he's been over 130 yards. One of those he did not have a touchdown. One of those he did. It was 12 for 40 last week, 9 for 25 week before. So it really depends on. One was the Buffalo game, which they lost. I have no idea how that went that way. The other one was the Dallas game, which they won, which is pretty neutral. Dan, I know you're probably looking up Snapshare, if I had to guess.
I'm just looking up his game logs and player profiler. I mean, Dylan hasn't been an issue nearly all season. He just doesn't get enough. He's not on the field enough. It's his usage when he's on the field. It's what's been concerning. He's been at 60% more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Over half of his games, he's over 60% snap share. It's just his usage has been up and down when he's on there. To that, a team that has struggles passing the football throughout most of the season, has been uniquely unreliant on their running game. He's 6-5. This is him making a move. He's been kind of rotating through tight ends, which everyone's been fighting tight ends all year. If you don't have Travis Kelce, even Mark Andrews through his injuries, if you don't have Kelce, you've been battling tight ends all year. That's been pretty much the case. And as Ryan mentioned, Kittle, this offense starting to finally, I think, move. They're healthy-ish. Kittle will always be in that. I think that tier below Kelce. I just don't think he gets the consistency in volume, but
because he's such a good blocker too. That
well, it's the team's built to not feature one person. That's why fucking McCaffrey. That trade for McCaffrey, still makes no sense.
Team's built to be better as a team. 4 touchdowns the last 4 weeks for Kittle. He's also giving you some solid performances. I think positionally he's the more consistent performer within his position.
Let's look at the Packers schedule.
Yeah.
So they got Eagles, Bears, Rams, Dolphins, and Vikings to end the fantasy season. They play the Lions. Obviously, week 18 doesn't count unless your league's stupid. They got 3 out of their last 5 games are road games. I don't know how their run defense ranks, play out. I think, as you mentioned, it's a fair trade, but
it is a fair trade. No, I agree that it's a fair trade, and that's kind of why it's a little tough for me to plant my flag on what side I would want, because I can completely justify both sides of this. So I do think it's a fair trade. It's not something that I'm setting up to hate on by any means. I do think that in single tight end, no premium, even full PPR, I would tend to prefer the running back, but I get why the move was made. You're 6-5, you're wanting to do something. You have a position at you can maintain consistency at running back while you have a positional need at tight end that you just solidified with some week to week upside there. So I think it's a good move. I think it makes sense. I don't know that I personally would have done it, but I get why you did, and I absolutely can't sit here and hate on it either. It's a fair trade. Everyone chooses to run their teams differently, and I think you identified a need, and you did a good job solidifying it.
Yep.
Ryan, what are your thoughts?
No, I totally agree with that. I like trading away Aaron Jones, like I already said earlier, just because he wasn't what I expected him to be even this year.
No. Well, touchdowns are fluky, right? And that's
just his performance in general has just been fluky.
That's it. It's not even him. Again, he is being handicapped from their play calling. And this weird times of going away from running football.
Yeah, he's not injured or anything. It's just the way the whole offense is running right now. It's not what we were hoping it was going to do.
And this started last year with him too, so
yeah, he was already annoying me last year.
I mean, he's been this way. He's been this way for
He's actually trending to have a better season than last year. He's, more on path outside of touchdowns to look at what he did in 2020, and you're far removed from his 16 touchdown season in 2019.
Yeah, it all falls to Green Bay not being an highly efficient offensive powerhouse.
Not
team
anymore.
Has clearly struggled to produce points and to produce scoring opportunities because they're now feeded on bigger plays, which it's again. I agree with Hopper and Ryan. It's a very fair deal. I'm very hesitant on trading away depth, and the fact that you're riding, Pollard, Monty, and Patterson and Hunt. There is no clear one. There's a lot of risk, as he mentions in this chat. There's a lot of risk in this, and it could clearly pan out. Monty without Herbert is a clear mid to high 2 with how that offense operates. We'll see how the running game operates without Justin Fields being able to take those and open up running lanes for the backfield. But
the way
I hope it pans out
this year.
Yeah,
running backs this year have been bad.
Yeah. I hope it pans out either way. I want you to be successful. And
I like it, Kyle. You did good, man.
All right. What news? We
got a couple quick hitters left. Edwards-Helaire to IR. So Pacheco's workload last week seems like it'll probably persist. Jamar Chase, game time decision for Sunday. If I had to guess, he probably doesn't play, but tune in Sunday morning. I think they give him another week. Darnold going to start for the Panthers with an injury to PJ Walker, and DJ Chark to IR after Thursday's game.
Again?
Yes.
He gave me a touchdown. And you're like, nah, I'm good, bro. I have him in one league that I actually need him in because I'm losing everybody else.
All right.
That sucks.
Anything on CEH, Chase, or Darnold? Darnold would be a fun one to watch. Actually, we know DJ Moore can perform with Sam Darnold, so there is that.
Honestly, he performed with Walker, and it was inconsistent. I expect it to be the same it's been I expect very, very inconsistent performances, but there's probably some boom coming
CEH,
down
I
the
like
pipeline.
CEH. You can go ahead and drop him in all redraft leagues. It means out
Yeah,
at least 4 weeks.
You can almost
like-
drop him in Dynasty. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
You can almost
Yeah.
drop him in Dynasty. God, that's life
so
hits you hard.
sad.
Look, I'm just
But
saying.
I mean, I like Pacheco, but he doesn't have any like catching upside. He hasn't caught anything. He has, I think, 3 catches on the year.
We're gonna
And,
get
like-
Ronald Jones too this week.
Yeah, he'll
Finally.
be enough. He'll
The
be
guy
another
that was
healthy inactive.
just
They like to scratch him, like, gotcha, almost gotcha.
the Chiefs are like Buffalo. They don't really need a high end running back to find success.
No, they
No,
do
I mean-
not. Although Buffalo's had a decent running back this year. And we called
Yeah.
it. Or I called it.
Singletary has been fine.
He's
N-
been
N-
not,
Nothing to be shocked by.
nothing to be disappointed by either.
But that offense should yield pretty good numbers to most running backs.
I figured it out. The Chiefs are going to activate Jerrion Ely or Wayne Gallman to keep Ronald Jones from playing.
Please no.
Jerry on Ely.
Yeah.
Small. Yeah. Let's just have another small pass catcher that
Why
we
not?
don't throw to.
Why not? DJ Moore, by the way, with Darnold last year is actually surprisingly consistent. So, just saying. Although
Yeah,
it
yeah,
only
fair
needs
enough.
one more touchdown this year to match his 4 from the last 3 seasons, but he's got to get 500 yards over the last 7 games which is doable to keep his 1,000-yard streak alive.
We'll see.
He's gonna do it. It's gonna happen with Darnold, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Beer review or just into previews? I still have beer left, mostly because I'm getting slightly more intoxicated the more I drink, so I slowed down.
We can do
You
a
know,
quick
breakfast
review.
burrito.
I mean, we should only have
13
What?
games total.
13 games
Beer
total.
review.
Brian, you can kick us off, and Hopper and I will go through our barrel aged stuff.
All right, I had DeClaw Brewing Company, Sweet Baby Jesus. They're out of Baltimore, Maryland. Chocolate peanut butter porter, coming in at 6.2. It's a classic porter with heavenly aromas and flavors of roasted malt, chocolate, and rich peanut butter with a smooth, dry finish. One sip and you'll exclaim the name. And that's very true. It feels like it almost tastes like a nutty bar. Like peanut butter porters to me, it's almost like a nutty bar, if that makes any sense. But yeah, it's very
With
good.
that one, it does because they do call it a lot of shit that's really decadent.
Yeah, and I just take a sip of it, and I'm like, I just taste nutty bar right off the bat. Right, definitely enjoy it. It's already finished too, so that just tells you how much I actually liked it.
There you go. Hopper, you can go with yours.
Sure.
That way you don't have to go so crazy drinking then.
Nah. Desvedania. So in blinds, I definitely prefer this to Bourbon County. I've done this with blinds before, and I think this one's no different. It's a little it's not quite as thick as what I remember it being in the past, which is good because that makes it more drinkable. It's definitely not as thick as Bourbon County is. 14.6% will hit you, but it doesn't drink super boozy. It's not hot by any means. You don't get the heat from the bourbon barrel at all. The chocolate is definitely there. The peanut butter off of this is mostly fallen off. Not surprising given that it's almost a year old, or is a year old. So, overall, this beer is what I would classify is dangerous because it tastes good. It doesn't drink heavy. It's not filling, and it's 14.6%. So I am pretty fucked up. It's not overly boozy.
I am pretty fucked up.
Yeah, it's a little bit sweet. The cocoa's there. So, yeah, I don't know. Dos Vidania, if you have a chance to get one, definitely get one because to me, it's one of the better barrel-aged stouts on the market.
I'll just see if I can find that around here by me. 'Cause there's one place by me that carries
So,
weird beers from.
You'll
Yeah.
start to see it pop up, I think. At least this year's, you'll start to see it slowly pop up as we get them sent out.
I've got a friend that is coming down here December 5th. I might just send them by the brewery for me.
Because I have one party store right by me that just has Distill, and I can't find it anywhere else.
Yeah, but like those big chain stores.
You just need
Again-
Dan. Just need Dan to start covering Michigan.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. The guy we got out there is pretty good. Pretty good. All right. Again, I'm doing the s'mores. Hopper did the peanut butter chocolate from last year. I'm doing this year's release variant. This is it's got cocoa nibs, cinnamon. They're gonna use natural flavors to help with with the marshmallow. A lot sweeter than I thought it'd be. I was able to try this when we did our Dulce Dani Days release last Saturday. It's super heavy on the kind of pistachio. You get some hints of coconut almost. Obviously not from the butter standpoint, but just from an overall taste standpoint.
It's interesting to me that you just read off a bunch of things that don't make me think of s'mores, like pistachio
I know.
and cinnamon and
Yeah,
coconut.
it's very weird. But it's
It's one of those things that's probably good if you didn't put s'mores on the label.
yeah, I still get the intention of where it is, like a where it does give you that really heavy vanilla, and you get little hints of the graham cracker, so it definitely gives you that. But
Graham crackers
The-
tough to bring out too.
it absolutely is. But to get the hints of coconut, and I get some of the cinnamon, which is on there. Then obviously the nut flavors just kind of it throws it in the whack. It was one of the more popular ones when we had people try it when they went and pick up their allotment. I enjoy it for sure. Adjunct stouts generally aren't my preferred preference anymore. I like more just base stuff, but it's Blackest Friday, and I wanted to do something fun.
That's what we're doing. Blackest Friday, doing fun stuff, drinking
Yeah,
real
fun
light
stuff.
beer.
And peanut
Right.
butter porters.
Let's jump into these games, move on so we can go and enjoy the hardcore shopping day of hopefully not shopping. All right.
I did all of my shopping sitting from the couch last night watching Zac Efron in the Wild.
Zac Efron in the Wild.
Yeah, there's a show on Netflix. That gotta find it.
You guys weren't watching those great football games all day yesterday?
No, I did.
Oh my god, like it was like finally like the first year ever, like every game was good.
I watched none of them. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Well,
Was it a-
we were hosting, so I was cooking throughout the first game and hanging out with family throughout the second game, and then we watched The Grinch with my kid during the third game. So,
Totally understandable.
but anyway, it's a Down to Earth with Zac Efron.
Oh, is that his big weed show?
No, it's a show where he goes and like this whole season's in Australia, and he like learns and teaches about different cultural things. So like we learned about regenerative agriculture and Tasmanian devils and mushrooms and their different uses other than getting high. Like it's pretty good. Good stuff.
Fun.
What do you check out?
Good watch.
Brian, did you watch the Vikings and Pats game?
Yes, I did.
Was the Hunter Henry catch a catch?
That was a catch.
I'm gonna look.
I don't
I'm
understand.
gonna look it up. Do I get to?
No,
give
no,
my
it's,
opinion?
no, it is insane. It took forever
Was it-
for them to rule on it, and they ruled it incomplete.
What did you think?
I mean, take
Based on-
the homerism out of it,
I am, because based on the rules, it's not a catch.
right? But
Based on the rules, it's not it should be a catch, and I don't think it should have been overturned. 'Cause I don't think it was fully clear, but it's one of those things where the NFL can't get it right, and there's so many different angles. And what I always come back on is that he didn't have both feet established before he crossed the plane with the ball, which nullifies the whole thing of the ground can't cause it to be incomplete. Because I've seen it go alongside Travis Kelce's play.
That's what I'm
who
watching.
had
right-
both-
That's what I'm watching right now. But did it hit the ground? His hand looked like it was under it the whole time.
You can see so on really zoomed in replays, you can see the Astral Beast jump up and the ball rolled and then flip. Like if the ball is secure, it's not going to move as aggressive
Oh
as
yeah,
it did.
I saw the laces spin.
It's such a weird like to a technicality. It's the right call.
Yeah, technically it's the right call, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
it should have
It's
stayed consistent to what the ref called. I think it should have been ruled. Thankfully, it wouldn't have mattered because they got a field goal on that play or on that drive, and they would have lost by 3 instead of 7. So
7. All right, how about the CD Lamb catch? Was it a touchdown or no?
again, based on
What?
the rules, right? It's not supposed to be, but there's
So Hunter Henry, to my eye, is a catch, but based on the rule, I agree it's not a catch. To my eye, that like I don't really see that thing hit. He's got it secure. He hits the ground. I don't see the ball hit the ground. I believe you when you say in slow motions, and he holds on to it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you treat the plane as like an out of bounds line where you have to have both feet established before you cross the plane for that to matter, he did not have both feet established.
Yeah, he's making the football move, right? He's turning and
But
reaching, his foot hits the ground simultaneously as
the foot.
The plane is causing it, so it's not being and that's
yes.
He's not completing the catch, even though the ball it clearly leaves his possession.
I'm watching the Lamb catch now. Lamb is out of bounds.
There's so many weird angles, and that's again based off the rules. It was like because the heel touchdown
out of bounds.
Like if the heel touches the turf first, the whole foot has to be in bounds. If it's the toe first, then it doesn't. Right? It's weird.
Ooh.
It's weird how they have it.
Did they call this a touchdown?
No, it was ruled incomplete. It was ruled incomplete on the field too.
Actually, wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
No, that's a touchdown.
Yeah, that's what I said as a touchdown because that way that toe drag.
The toe hits the ground first, not the heel. The toe, he's falling, but the toe hits first, and then he rolls back onto the heel, which is out of bounds.
See, that one is.
But then he already has his other toe down. Like he just hits his other toe down.
Yeah, it should be, but it was ruled no touchdown. That's why I thought the Hunter Henry one should have been kept the same.
Yeah,
because they're just consistent with there's not being very conclusive evidence, very clear evidence to show.
Although I can't really see for Lamb, I can't see possession either.
The ball never moved.
I see.
Yeah,
I see him catch it with one hand, and his body's blocking it from this angle. But the toe definitely hits the ground before the heel.
Yeah, there was never any concern, I think, based off of possession wise, but it was all about how the ruling was made.
That should have been a touchdown.
I can't believe how you got that other foot down like that. Like that momentum you have, and you're going backwards like that.
Oh, it looked very obvious that it was out of bounds until the replays. We're like, oh my god.
Yeah, he got the toe down, and then as he was falling, he rolled back on the hill. That should have been a touchdown.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to get some.
Hey, thank you guys for that.
The super controversial opinions that I've seen floating around everywhere. Like it's been talked about in nauseum lane. So I figured why not add a little more to it?
Yeah, Henry, no touchdown, Lamb touchdown.
That was fun.
All right. Ravens at the Jaguars. Ravens 3.5-point favorites on the road. 43.5 is the game total. Baltimore again struggles to cover really any spread. They can't seem to put bad teams with it. They're at the AFC version of the Vikings. Combine that with a lack of receiving game. They're supposed to get back Gus. They feel confident that he's going to play. Jacksonville pretty bad this year against the spread. The offense is vastly inconsistent. Line story a little bit longer. Don't bet this game at all. Just pass on it.
Ravens are going to be with they're without Bateman still. They're going to potentially be without Duvernay. So not great there. As far as the receiving game goes, they basically have Andrews, and that's it. So Andrews and Jackson are the only things you can go with Ravens side, and then watch the running back situation. Whoever's active will be heavily involved. If it's not Gus, I'm full go on Drake this week. If it is Gus, then that's going to murky things up a little bit because I don't think they completely phase Drake out. The Ravens are a team kind of like the 49ers where they're not really built to feature anything, well, except Lamar. So that one will be interesting. On the Jaguars side of this, ETN you're absolutely good with. The other person you typically look at is Christian Kirk. You're going to see the Ravens show up green a lot of places or show up as a good matchup a lot of places. But the fact is, over the last 3 weeks, they are 25th in points allowed PPR against the wide receiver. And over the last 5 weeks, they're 18th. So a lot of what's carrying that bad rating is before the season when they weren't healthy. The defense has gotten better as things have gone on. So I think that, other than ETN, you're pretty much a fade on Jacksonville or on Jacksonville here and the Ravens. I mean, this whole game's a fade other than Lamar and Andrews.
Yeah, it's an interesting one though, but I still like Devin Duvernay. Not Devin Duvernay.
Duvernay's
Look at his name.
questionable, so
Yeah. Oh crap. I just had him.
Kirk?
Oh, Demarcus Robinson. No, because he had nine targets last game and caught all of them for 128 yards. So he is the wide receiver one, but that was also without Mark Andrews in the lineup. So that kind of makes it tough. But at $4,300, he'd be one player I'd be willing to play out of this lineup.
All right. Falcons at the Commanders. I'm sorry, not that. Blah, blah, blah. Broncos at the Panthers. Broncos 1.5 point favorites on the road. 36.5.
You just completely switch games there.
Yeah, I'm trying to go in order. So I don't want to forget a game. Yeah, try not to forget a game. The 36.5 game total is the lowest on the slate. Makes sense because you get horrible Broncos offense and horrible Panthers offense with two viable plus defenses. I still take the Broncos, even the cover on the road. I have no idea what to expect from Carolina, but what we saw from Darnold last year, I don't really expect to see anything different. So expect turnovers, low scoring from both teams. You can even bet the under. Just ride high. Just keep riding with what Vegas wants us to do, and that's bet the under.
All right. I forget what game you said we were doing. Broncos, Panthers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. I was looking at Falcons things because
you're good
the first time.
I know.
This is an ugly one, too. Both teams have good defenses. The Broncos' defense is absolutely fantastic. That's going to make you fade everything Carolina, including Foreman. There is absolutely nothing from the Panthers that I want to start this week, period. Not a damn thing. On the Denver side of this, look, Murray should get the majority of the work with Melvin Gordon cut and Chase Edmonds not really working into this.
He's on IR.
He's on IR now.
Yeah, and now on IR, so he's definitely going to work into this. Latavius Murray should be the guy. So you actually have an answer here as somebody with some RB2 floor. And Cortland Sutton was not bad last week without Jerry Jeudy. However, tougher matchup this weekend against JC Horn. So, this game for the most part is just a giant fucking fade for me. Murray is about the only thing I feel relatively confident in starting. Sutton's been super inconsistent, and again, it's a bad matchup.
I totally agree with you that because even on DraftKings, I'd only be willing to play Latavius Murray just because he's so cheap at 5,000.
Yeah.
The same, no running backs behind him. It's like, all right, he's going to get the majority of the carries, but you also got to remember he's also a 32-year-old running back.
Yeah, that entire game's a fade. Just pretend it doesn't. Just pretend it doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah. All right. The Falcons at the Commanders.
All right, a game that exists.
Commanders 4-point favorites at home. 40.5 is the game total. Atlanta started the year out very hot against spread covering, I think 6 in a row. They've covered 1 out of their past 5. 6-5. Washington has covered 6 straight. as the Taylor Heineke era. It's been very successful since he's taken over for an injured Wentz, going 5-1 during that span. And Washington's looking very, very competitive against teams they probably shouldn't be this competitive against. That should remain the same. They don't really blow teams out unless you're Houston. They don't get blown out. So 4 points, I think, is a great spot for this. Atlanta has been very up and down as a team as a whole, especially consistency on offense. No Kyle Pitts on IR just creates even a further divide on what that passing game should look like, and you're leaning heavier on that backfield. I like the Commanders at -4 and smash the under.
Yeah, you're smashing the Commanders in this one. The only thing the Falcons have to throw the ball to is Drake London, and they haven't been leaning on him super heavily. So that passing game is going to be a nightmare. Although I think Drake London is your best start there because you don't have anybody else. And the Commanders are very, very good against the run. They're very, very stout up the middle. We saw both Patterson and Algier have decent days against the Bears, but this is not a good offensive day for the Falcons from anything that I can see. Commander side of this, I expect McLaurin's going to draw Terrell, which also
Is he back?
is he back? Let me look. Actually,
He was out injured for a while.
He was not back last week, so
he
Isn't-
is not currently on the injury report. Unless he's on
Okay.
IR, he's not on the injury report.
Huh.
I'm looking at this. Where the hell is left cornerback? Yeah, he's not on the injury report. Terrell isn't,
Okay.
so he will be back.
That could be a tough game for McLaurin on that one.
It's probably going to be a tough game for McLaurin. Up the middle here though, Brian Robinson and Gibson, I think both have some RB2 upside for the most part. Falcons not necessarily stout against the run, and I think that's how Washington's going to have to get it done. But the good news is that they can. So I think that both Gibson and Robinson have some flex value. There's not a ton of upside to either guy necessarily. You did just have Gibson go for over 100 yards against Houston, though. So just something you can keep an eye on and play with is both backs from Washington in a week that doesn't have a lot of good fantasy matchups.
No, it's a tough week for fantasy matchups there. And with AJ Terrell coming back now, I'm actually pivoting from McLaurin down to Curtis Samuel. Even though he hasn't been good for the last couple of games, but I still see him bouncing back where he was back to the 50. He'd get four receptions, 50 yards, maybe a touchdown. But I like it, like you said, with the rushing ability that the Commanders are going to plan on doing. I can see Samuel getting a few of those carries too, especially around the goal line. So he could be a nice cheap play at $5,000 for you, even as a flex.
all right. Bucks at the Browns. Bucks 3.5-point favorites on the road. 42.5 is the game total. The post divorce era for Tom Brady.
Looks
2-0.
Looks a lot better.
Yeah, 2-0. The team itself is still struggling to put up points on offense. That's why this game is this low. I do like them to cover the spread. I think this is the time of year where we're going to see Brady start to kind of really, really dial it in as the Bucks look to make a push to try to get a higher seed in the playoffs. Not going to compete for the number 1 seed or maybe number 2, but to try to get themselves a double home win potentially. So, like the Bucks cover this 3.5. The Browns offense is so massively inconsistent and tends to score late. So I'm going to stay away from the over under and just take the Bucks 3.5.
All right, for the fantasy side of this, obviously Nick Chubb. Look, the Bucks have been very, very good defensively all season, regardless of how Tom Brady's played. Very, very good defensively all season. The last 5 weeks, they are 14th in points allowed to the wide receiver, but most of that looks like it's coming out of the slot, from what I can tell. So, I don't know what you do with that. Cooper's been up and down. I would probably say you play Cooper, and this is a week to fade DPJ, who kind of sits on that fringe. He always seems to have good floor, but I don't see any DPJ upside this week. I sat him in favor of Myers in a lot of leagues. Now Myers' shoulder injury, that kind of hampered things. That's kind of where I was at ranking wise. DPJ is a little bit of a fade. The other side of this for the Bucks, the Browns have been terrible against the run. They're not terrible, but second most points allowed, so that's not good. Over the last 5 weeks, so that's very, very good news if you're Rachaad White, who should have the backfield mostly to himself. And against the wide receiver, about middle of the pack. A lot of that also given up to, kind of wide receiver ones. Chris Godwin's been very consistent. His performance has gone up along with Brady's. So, I think you're fine with Godwin and Evans, and Rachaad White, you're absolutely mashing that start button. And your first opportunity to have him have workload to himself, it's a great matchup for him.
It's nuts. Rachaad White is definitely going to be chalked this week in DFS at $5,100. So he's easy hit. But I still like DPJ this week just because he's 4,800. And yeah, last week, only reason why he went over, because I think he only had like 30 some yards before he had that big catch and the touchdown.
But that's what he does. He gets downfield targets and it happens. He finally got the touchdown last week, but he was still at his floor in yardage, and that's typically how he does it, is he has a big catch or two.
Yeah. So I like him a lot. I mean, he's been like a borderline wide receiver 3, but over the last 2 weeks, he's been pushing almost borderline wide receiver 1, especially with that touchdown catch he had last week. That really helped him. I think it was at number 12 or 13 for wide receiver finishes.
His touchdown volume isn't there, man, but he's trending to be, if not over 1,000 yards in the high 900s. So,
yeah, especially with Watson coming back. I mean, I think he's on the up and up. And David Njoku, I mean, I think last week was a Russ game, so I think he was just coming back because he only played like 28% of the targets, or he's on 20% of the snap share. So I think this week could also be his week because they're going to need to rely on him trying to keep up with Tampa Bay, especially as Tom Brady has that the divorce undefeated still.
All right. Bengals at the Titans. Bengals are 2.5-point favorites on the road. 43.5 is the game total. It's a battle of just dominant teams against the spread at this point. Tennessee's covered 8 in a row. Bengals are 7-1. So is which team's going to kind of end this streak let up? Surprisingly, the home team isn't favorite. But Tennessee's weakness this year has been kind of higher profiled offenses, and the expected return of Ja'Marr Chase could yield the push in Cincinnati's favor. Tennessee's been dominant against the run this year, but a team that likes to suffocate their opponents with their own running game and put their teams behind, which is they're one of the best teams in the league to play with a lead. You get the Bengals team that comes in potentially full powered in their passing game. I actually like the Bengals in this. Just depends if Ja'Marr Chase plays. If Chase doesn't play, I think you'd smash Tennessee and whatever points they're getting. I think Vegas is setting these lines as if Chase is going to play. I would be surprised that Tennessee wouldn't be favored in a game if Chase isn't expected to play. As for the over under, it's the Bengals offense has been fucking steamrolling. Outside of that one oopsie game against Cleveland at the 1st of November, it's been 30 plus the past 5 weeks besides that one game. So 4-1 over those in that span. It's tough to ignore. So I'll take Cincy, and I think I'll take the over in this as well.
Tennessee giving up 10th most points to wide receivers. So again, if Chase plays, you're in really good shape here. Most of that over the last couple weeks actually looks like, who the hell is Jalen Virgil? Anyway.
Well, that's not a good point. If he scored a bunch of points, I don't know the name at all.
Yeah, 13 points PPR over Cortland Sutton last week. Well, and that's kind of what I'm looking at is he like the fill-in in the slot for, because Randall Cobb is who did it, and then Juju did it, and then Mecole Hardman. So
it's a gadgety outside
Paris
player,
Campbell, gadgety outside. So just kind of looking at the style of receiver here. I mean, you're totally fine with Chase if he's healthy. If not, you're fine with T because that's how they're going to get it done. I think a lot of people want to run at Samaje Perine this week, but we talked about it. I don't remember if we were on air yet or not. We might have been. I think we were. I think it was in the news segment where, Tennessee's given up 1 rushing touchdown and 1 receiving touchdown to the running back all season.
Yeah,
So
it's been bad.
you got a lot. You better hope for a lot of floor out of Samaje Perine if you plan on starting him. The Titan side of this, you can't trust anything other than Derrick Henry.
You can't even trust Treylon Burks?
No.
Yeah, I'm super pumped that he got a high target share.
Right? I love him for DFS.
Yeah. It's
For DFS,
Cincinnati can get up like early. I think there might be some chances here.
there are, but if it's a neutral game script, because I expect Tennessee to be able to relatively suffocate that, especially given how bad Cincy's line is, that I don't know if the game script goes towards Burks.
But Burks already had 14 targets over the last 2 games.
I like to see how it as he continues to get healthy.
There's a difference between trust and believe there's upside there. Let me put it that way.
I like both. I have trust and upside.
I don't trust him. I believe there's upside.
If you believe this game can be higher scoring, I think
I don't.
there's
That's
Yeah,
my
I do.
problem. I do not.
yeah, like it's a game where expect obviously neutral game strip to stay the same.
What's the
I
over under
can
on
t-
this one, Dan?
43.5.
Yeah.
So-
So Vegas doesn't either.
It's a middle of the road game total. This has pretty much been average. It's like the rarity of seeing 50 plus has been a lot lower as point scores have been down all season long. I think it's the target share over the past couple of games, especially last week, is where I like to see it one more week, but I can definitely see the excitement of wanting to play him
I see there's
I'm
upside,
excited.
Finally.
but
as he finally gets healthy and to see him overtake Woods and NWI.
I think there's upside there. NWI was never a threat, but I think that there's
Oh, I know.
yeah. I think that there's
He-
upside there. I completely agree with that. Bengals 23rd in points allowed to the wide receiver over the last 3 weeks. Pickens just had himself a good game, but
It's the wide receiver twos that have a good game against them. I was looking that up.
yes, it is. It is the twos that are doing better. So,
It's Pickens to 2.
well,
He's all targeted and produced over Deontay.
I think it's
Johnson the
outside
past few
receivers that are doing better.
weeks.
Deontay Johnson's playing out of the slot primarily, right? So
Yeah.
it's outside receivers that are doing better. Where's is Burks playing primarily outside?
He plays on
Probably,
the outside, yeah.
I'd assume. So I mean, yeah, there's upside to be had here. Trust is a strong word, especially in a game I don't think is going to be high scoring.
I think it'd be a fun game. I like
There's
Treylon
upside.
Burks this week, so $4,200
DFS for
outside.
sure.
Oh yeah, $4,200. You can't go wrong for that price. That's a Black
Ah.
Friday deal right there.
Deontay Johnson's a primarily outside receiver, just a 9.3% slot rate.
Really? Is
Yeah.
Pickens playing more in the slot, or is it?
I think Pickens was always outside. I think it's Claypool. I think they run a lot of
What the
I don't know
hell?
if they run a lot of wide receiver 3 sets,
Probably not.
but I thought Claypool was primarily their inside, kind of their big if there's a big gadget player.
Yeah,
Claypool 60.2%
that
out of
would
the
make
slot,
sense.
number 3 in the league. So it's always been Claypool.
My bad.
Whoops.
But either way, I think we're starting to see the change of the guard there as Pickens. I mean, he's just a better outside option anyways than
He was
Deontay.
like
No,
freaking beast.
Pickens is a beast. But
Yeah. Not to say that Burks can't be, but I agree. I mean, again, it's one of those where I can see the game script, given enough to push the receiving out of the door, for everybody, or it can be a slow grind 'em game if Henry and Tennessee really takes over
Right.
early on.
Dan, I think you're with me on this one, where you definitely see the path to upside for Burks, but you don't necessarily trust that it's going to.
I'm not rushing to play him in kind of
Yes.
shallower leagues, but if I'm
No.
in deeper leagues, there's definitely enough upside to
Or
play him over fringe
I'm
other fringe options.
Yeah, or if I'm just at a point where I need to play all upside.
Yeah.
I am in your league where I'm playing Nick, who I have no prayer beating unless people go off, then I'm going to play all upsides.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Right. Or on any other DFS that we
Don't
can
go
take
chase
away.
don't go chasing after the Trenton Irwin from the Cincinnati Bengals either from last week. That was just a fluke. He's been on the practice squad and been brought up 3 times in a row now. So don't chase it.
With Jamar Chase slated to come back, I don't think anyone should be chasing
Well,
Steve
like-
Irwin's
Yeah,
a bastard
just see the
child
flocks.
here.
you just see the flocks hanging out of the back of the helmet. Like, who the hell's this number 16 guy on the field now?
I thought it was still Alex Erickson and realized it wasn't.
That's what I thought.
I'm like, well, I guess I got the raw and slow white receiver that yields punts.
Yeah, it's like Samsonite. I was way off.
All right. Houston at Miami. Miami's 14-point favorites at home. 46.5 is the game total. I've said it all year. Double-digit point spreads scare me because there's just so many ways to lose on the backdoor touchdown if a team's up big and they start to play lax in a game in which they're not going to lose. They'll just give up and play kind of more soft defense. Houston's fucking garbage, though. Miami is firing out cylinders. I think they're up there with the Chiefs, the best team in football. Mike McDaniels and Tua in this entire offense is just firepower after firepower. I'm not slamming the door, or I'm not slamming, pounding the table to take Miami here in the points, but I can see a reason why to put some money on it. Again, I wouldn't put my mortgage on it, but
You don't have
a reason why to put points.
You don't have a mortgage.
I don't have a Well, I mean,
So,
I pay it.
of course,
I pay it.
Of course, you can put.
It's not a lot on it, yeah, but I could pay it. But again, these double-digit point spreads, even against bad teams, can go awry if you get a couple, turnovers and Houston scores, a couple touchdowns, couple, scoring drives early. It can really be a hard time to push the spread to be covered. But
Sorry, didn't mean to call you out like that.
no, that's fine. You want to sprinkle a little cash in Miami, by all means.
I damn sure ain't putting my mortgage on it.
No. I mean, mine's very low, so.
Yeah, we ain't got to go into those. I ain't putting my mortgage on it. Well, I don't even know what the point spread was. I'm still not doing it.
14.
Nope.
Yeah, a lot of points.
But start all your Dolphins. By the way, Mostert not practicing with a knee injury, so all Jeff Wilson all the time this week.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah, right? Yeah, flip side of this for the Texans, Dameon Pierce is startable again after a couple weeks of predictably not playing well. So, yay there, I guess. I don't know. The Texans are starting to Kyle Allen. There's not a lot you can be excited about. So, that's something we didn't mention in the news because that's what happens when I only get to half prep the news. Davis Mills not starting this week. He's been benched.
Well, I mean, it's okay to go. It's it's on the same level of like Carolina switching quarterbacks.
Yeah, except Carolina switching quarterbacks between a bunch of guys with perceived upside, and Houston switching between Kyle Allen.
Maybe Brandon Cooks will be a thing then.
Maybe they get CJ Stroud next year. Who knows?
Oh God,
Yeah.
they don't deserve it. They don't deserve.
They don't
that.
deserve him.
No, they can have Stroud. I want Bryce Young to the Lions.
Well, you all gotta step up that draft position a little bit then, if that's what you want.
If the Rams keep losing, we'll be doing fine.
Oh yeah,
And I
you're
don't see
banking on the Rams draft pick.
Yep. And I'll see the Rams win
That's
another
crazy.
game, so I feel pretty good.
You're straight up in division with the Bears on that.
That is so gross, Kyle Allen starting.
Yes.
But yeah, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, man, those are easy, fire up, especially in DFS. Because
What's
there's no,
Jeff Wilson's price?
6,100. That's my guess.
no 5,900.
Ooh yeah.
I actually wrote about him in DFS. It was between him and Mostert.
Oh yeah.
Chalk.
Yeah.
Him and White.
Him and
Are
White.
going to be your most chalky plays in GPPs this week.
Yeah, because I had him and Mostert as both good plays because they were both 59, 5,700. So I was like, oh, that's an easy smash because if that tandem works out. But yeah, now with Jeff Wilson, just doing it, yeah, I'd spend the $5,900 on it all day long. And there's no Derek Stingley is out for this game also,
Mm-hmm.
so no shutting down anyone on that one.
They're
And
gonna score all
maybe
their points in the first half and then just rest the starters in the third quarter.
right, maybe go with Mike Gesicki. You know, you see him do the gritty in the end zone again as he tries.
No,
for a third time.
no.
$3,500. $3,500.
Well,
Josh-
that's fine.
Josh
But don't do the
Jacobs
fucking gritty.
downgraded to questionable. Breaking
No.
news.
Uh-oh.
Who's downgraded questionable?
Jacobs.
Late week
Oh.
injuries are never fun.
Late week
Uh-oh.
downgrade.
Hey, could it be my
I-
Zamir? Is it Zamir White week?
Does
I'd
it
go pick up
matter?
Zamir White. Yeah, because I would go pick up Zamir White.
It's gonna be Amir Abdullah.
Gonna be Abdullah.
Don't get it twisted, Ryan.
Amir Abdullah Almongada.
Zamir White's not good. Neither is Amir Abdullah, but
I still like my Zamir White.
I know you do.
it's fine. It's okay to like things that aren't good for you.
I mean, Hopper likes he made his living off of Viking
have you met
quarterbacks.
that are terrible?
That way. It's like me with all positions.
I'll get rid of my Baker Mayfield jersey now. I can't even wear it. I gave it to my son, I think.
Why would you do
You're-
that?
You're a terrible.
What did he
father.
do to you? What did he do to you?
Hey, if I wanted to catch an interception, I could give him the jersey. I know for a fact I'll catch it if he throws it.
Fair enough. All right.
Progressive at home.
Is that it for that game?
Yeah.
All right.
We're talking about Baker Mayfield, and
We're talking about something that could be actually worse. The Bears versus the Jets. The Jets are 6-point favorites at home.
this
38
actually
and a-
doesn't look bad with Mike White starting.
38.5 is the game total. The battle of backups potentially it feels is to rest as you should. Mike
Trevor-
White,
Trevor
Slated
Siemian
as-
endorsed.
oh my god, slated as starter. I say fuck the spread. Just bet the under. I just bet the under. This without Fields, I don't know if Chicago scores any points. Maybe they can run one in, but with how good the offensive line is played, but sometimes it doesn't matter how good you are if you're very one-dimensional.
Nope.
And without the pressure of Fields on every drop back, whether it be a run or a pass,
And the Jets defense being good.
yeah, the Jets defense being hyper suffocating.
Very good.
I almost say take the Jets in the under. The offense might actually have some red zone drives for once. Yikes.
Yeah, David Montgomery for the Bears and nothing else. Cole Kmet's been good, but without Fields, I don't want to trust that, but he's probably your best receiving option. The Jets side of this with Mike White, I actually want to smash on Garrett Wilson.
And Elijah Moore.
And Elijah Moore, yeah.
And Michael Carter.
And Michael Carter. That was the
Especially in
other
PPR.
other route I was going to go. Yeah, mash on Michael Carter as well. I haven't seen James Robinson's injury report status. I'm going to check that right now.
I don't think he has one.
He didn't play last week. Hold on. If I can find it. There it is.
He had 7 to 10
Yeah,
for
he
10
does,
yards
he,
last
does,
week.
he does not have one. So, but yeah, you're not going that route. But Michael Carter, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is kind of a YOLO play. Garrett Wilson, though, I think is a smash given recent performance. And you throw Mike White in there, who is a better passer at this point. Yeah, absolutely, that's a smash. Bears secondary is good, but, you know, I agree with Dan. Under in the Jets is the most intriguing thing here, even for fantasy football. Start the under.
Start the under.
under.
Which means just start the defense.
Oh my god. Oh my! Even a DFS Carter 5,400.
Yeah.
Guess how much Garrett Wilson is?
You watch.
63.
40. Oh my god! No.
Why is he
4,300.
less? Why is he less than?
4,300.
Wait, so what is Elijah Moore?
Elijah Moore is
I
3,500. Garrett
okay.
Wilson's. Devin Duvernay is the most expensive one at 5,100.
It might be. I mean, it's hard to. It's
Or
hard
Darnell
to.
Mooney.
It's hard to create a lineup to where you're gonna stack Jets players, but Mike White's got to be probably minimum
Mike White is
for
4,900.
quarterbacks. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
got to be minimum for quarterbacks. My God, if only the game total gave me more happiness to want to play a little more strongly into that game.
Yeah, he's the cheapest for starting quarterbacks.
You should
Oh
be.
no, no, actually Kyle Allen is 4,800. Kyle Allen.
Okay, that's yeah. I'll pay up $100 more from Kyle Allen to
I think you can
Mike
afford it.
White. Yeah, I think we can afford that. All right, on to the 3 o'clock games here. Raiders at Seahawks. Seahawks are 3.5-point favorites. 47.5 is the game total. I think this is the second highest game total left on the slate here from Thursday's games. There's one more. The next game is the highest at 48.5. This one's got sneaky upside in terms of offensive output. Both defenses are struggling to stop both the run and the pass. Yeah, really anything. You have a journeyman plus type of quarterback. It just depends what Derek Carr we're going to get. The more turnover prone or the one that just constantly throws to Devontae Adams. And
you're going to get the one that is the guy that hurts all the toys in Toy Story.
Yeah. Oh my God. He totally does look like that kid. Potentially no Josh Jacobs means potentially even more passing, as I can't imagine there's an actual benefactory to Noah Jacobs. Split backfield, maybe Zamir White gets a lot, gets the bulk of the between the tackles rushes, but just
Zamir White YOLO play.
I would take Seattle in the points. They're going to continue on this insane ride that they've been on this year. Geno is going to have to only really worry about Max Crosby on the D line. Hopper's trying to relive his days in first grade. He looks like the kid from the Little Rascals. Not Spanky.
Trying to be like me.
No, it is Spanky. Yeah, Spanky.
That hat went on totally crooked.
Jeebus.
Stoss Madonna's good shit.
I know.
Let me tell you.
Sometimes.
Raiders are watching Josh Jacobs, really, because if he plays, then that's a chalk start. Otherwise, you might have a YOLO and Amir Abdullah. It's good late week pickup for free, just in case. Not Zamir White. Seahawks side of things, Walker, Metcalf, Lockett, start them all. Geno Smith, absolutely good with him this week. Carr could be a streamer, just depends. Yep.
Ryan.
I like both quarterbacks as DFS plays because they both throw in multiple touchdowns. Carr's done it in the last 3 games. Geno's done it in the last 4 games. The only difference is $300. Do you want to spend more for Geno at $6,000 or you want to spend less for Derek Carr at $5,700? Plus, Derek Carr tends to go over 300 yards once in a while, which is also bonus points for you in DraftKings.
Once in a while. Jeez. He goes over 300 yards once in a while.
He's done it 3 times or twice this year. But I think it's going to happen for a 3rd time.
This would be a matchup to suggest he can go over 300 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's ever a time to start him.
Oh, my God.
This would be the time.
That was great. He goes over 300 occasionally.
Well, the Raiders have been getting up to an average of 289 passing yards a game, so I wouldn't be surprised if even Geno goes over 300.
This is going to be a very popular.
Does he do that occasionally also, or
no?
When is the last time Geno went over 300 yards?
It's a while ago. Whoops.
I'm gonna look.
It was not this season at all. Oh wait, no, week 3, 325, week 4, 320. So he's gone twice. So he's also looking for his 3.
So he also does. Derek Carr goes over 300 yards on occasion. He's done it twice this year. Geno Smith does not do that on occasion. He's also done it twice this year. So
as of lately, he has not done it.
Neither is Carr.
Carr did it a couple weeks ago.
Like you?
Like last week, 307 last week. Carr's done it recently. He's week 11. He went 307.
Well, we know that both teams can't stop anybody. So
but before that, he hadn't done it since week 3.
I like your call on that.
I don't even know what my call is on that.
It's college. You still play them. They're going to be cheap
Yeah,
options.
you just play him.
This is the cheap game stack compared to the next game we're going to talk
That's
about.
what I'm naming the show. Derek Carr gets over 300 yards on occasion.
Or Zamir White, 8 attempts for 19 yards, averaging 2.1 yards per carry.
Boom. He's going to get it done this week, boys.
Zamir White out.
Zamir White or Isaiah Spiller in his 22 scrimmage
Yeah.
yards.
It's going to be a Zamir Whiteout. Another great name show. Derek Carr occasionally goes over 300. Zamir Whiteout. All right, let's get to the highest scoring game of the week per game total.
Please.
Chargers at the Cardinals. Chargers are 3-point favorites. 48.5 is the game total. And about 20 minutes ago, Mike Williams has been ruled out for this game. So we almost got a game where everyone's healthy.
If you're watching on YouTube, it looks like I don't have eyes right now.
I know I can see that. He's eyeless. Both offenses are starting to find and turn their corner. Take the over. Generally, you can't go wrong when you bet the over on the highest game total of the week.
Also, generally, you can't go wrong when you start things from the highest game total of the week. Keenan Allen's going to play. Mike Williams is not going to play, as you just talked about. Josh Palmer, a big week, so you're absolutely okay with that. Both guys were active, and he still showed the most value. So, with Mike Williams out, you can absolutely run that direction. Austin Eckler as well. Other side of this, where are they playing?
The Cardinals.
Right, they're back at nearly full strength. So, Hopkins, yes. Murray, yes. Marquise Brown, Hollywood is going to be an interesting one. I think that you can play that, but you might be looking at all upside for that one. Just, we haven't seen this full team healthy, so it's hard to put any type of perception on that. But Greg Dortch went for 66 yards last week in that wide receiver 2 role. Rondale Moore, whoever has been the 2 on this team has been viable all season, and so I think that gives you a reason to have some confidence in Marquise Brown.
Gerald Everett should be on track to play as well. If you're some tight ends,
you can also play James Conner. I mean, basically, if it might be fantasy relevant in this game, play it because there's a lot of shit this week. Otherwise,
if there is a pulse, play it. If there's a fantasy pulse,
not really.
Play him.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure Isaiah Spiller has a pulse. He just sucks.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Occasionally play other players.
Occasionally. DFS, Ryan.
I love Marquise Brown this week at 5,300 as an upside play, especially in tournaments. And Josh Palmer, too. With Mike Williams being out now, Joshua Palmer going back out. I mean, he had 10 targets last week. So, I mean, that's something to be serious about. Along with 8 receptions, 106 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he'd be serving as the number 2 at 5,400. And I think that's pretty much it for this. Nothing else I can really. I mean, never mind. We'll move on.
Move on. All right. 4 games left. Let's get to the highest game spread of the week. Rams at the Chiefs. Chiefs 15.5-point favorites at home. 42.5 is the game total. Vegas has no trust in the Rams of actually putting up any points.
Especially not without Stafford.
It's all about how much points will the Chiefs need to score to eventually rest the starters in the third quarter. I'm just not going to bet this game. Spread's massively high. They should cover, but you're going to be sweating that out, I think, for the majority of the game. And when you start getting backups versus backups, where a lot of random shit could happen. So just enjoy the slaughter that will be the Rams.
Yeah, this is not going to be pretty. Tyler Higbee had 8 targets last week, so you can play with that. You can play with Allen Robinson. The Rams are going to have to throw a lot. So you might as well, for volume reasons, not necessarily upside reasons, run out the top 2 receiving options on that team with Cooper Kupp hurt. But it is not going to be pretty. On the Chiefs side of this, you have to like Isaiah Pacheco this week, just given game script alone and the fact that Allaire went on IR. And Juju Smith-Schuster back from concussion. Neither of us were right about the wide receiver side of the Chiefs last week with Tony and MVS. That
I
was,
jokingly guessed Justin Watson. I'm just saying.
and you were right, although that still wasn't pretty either
3 for 67. That's not bad.
for Watson. It's not good.
Yeah. That's better than what we came up with.
It's
Got the touchdown.
well, it's average. But yeah, no, Juju's back, and they desperately needed him back, I think, is the takeaway there. So
That puts Juju. Does that put Ramsey on Juju then?
I don't think Ramsey will
Owner.
shadow.
I
Or is
don't.
it
I think
or is it-
Ramsey will probably shadow over
MVS?
Kelsey MVS. Just depends on how
Yeah.
the alignment is on every play.
Yep.
I can see them putting more focus over the top on Kelsey, and then not
Yeah.
wanting to be beat by that. Juju should be. I mean, I'm sure Juju will have some double coverage sometimes, not more so shadow coverage, not double. But I don't see Ramsey following one person.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. And Juju's the most viable wide receiver. And then
I don't know if
Kelsey's
he's
obvious.
Yeah.
I don't know if he shadows unless it's like a Justin Jefferson type or
I
Jamar
know
Chase. Adams.
in Jacksonville he didn't. So I don't know that he's going to be shadowing.
Yeah, in fact that he play a mixture of both. I can see him moving around.
I like your call hopper on the Pacheco, but for DFS, for especially DraftKings where it's full PPR, I like Jared McKinnon at the running back slot there at 4,700. I mean, yeah, last week he only had 1 target, 1 catch. The last 2 weeks before that, I mean, he was 8 targets. So I feel like
is
he's in
game script going to require them to throw the ball to Jarek McKinnon?
They don't throw the
they're-
ball at the running backs anyways.
They want to score fast. They're going to move the ball down the field quick and fast.
Well, you don't do that by checking it down.
Yeah, look at DeMarcus Valdez-Scantling too.
Yeah.
And this
Maybe.
is an MVS game. He's going to burn them.
Are you
It's
gonna
gonna be
keep saying that until we actually have an MVS game?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
at $4,000, why not? And my favorite play this week is the Chiefs defense, $2,800.
28?
Yeah, they are. I think they are the cheapest
No way.
out of. Okay, no, I just lied.
I was gonna say there's no fucking way. They should be one of the highest this week. They
Hmm.
should be probably
They're 22nd.
22nd.
Yeah,
Well, this is. I mean these pricings are made up before like 2-3 weeks before the games are played, so they're still
never mind.
anticipating probably Cup and
Stafford.
be my guess. Maybe not Cup, but definitely Stafford. He's counting. What is just their price? I don't really. I mean,
2,400.
yeah, I think I think that's going to be the most popular play. This game, I personally wouldn't play a lot of from this
Or
game.
28. Sorry, 2,800. Rams
Just
are
be-
2,300.
Yeah,
Ugh.
just because the Rams aren't going to push any scoring, so this is not my favorite game. Pacheco will be third in chalk probably because they'll lean
Yeah.
harder on the running game. Mahomes will be played because it's Mahomes and obviously Kelsey. You'll see naked Kelsey's running around in lineups. All right, last 3:00 game here. Saints at the Niners. Niners 8.5-point favorites. 43 even is the game total here. Both teams are pretty meh when it comes to spreads. Michael Thomas officially back to IR again. If he wasn't already on there. Niners are just cruising along. Debo was given a questionable tag when reports came out this afternoon. Still going Niners 8.5. Like I'm fine. I'm fine with a little more than a touchdown here. This team is rolling. It's going in the right direction. The question is going to be, can the Saints put up enough points to put this game over? And I'm going to lean with meh. Just take the Niners 8.5 if you want to bet this game. I would lean it. I would not put a lot of money on it though.
Yeah, Niners Saints. This one gets a little tough. Ayuk's been very, very good. Samuel been utilized in a multitude of ways. Kittle, as a tight end, that's shown some upside. I mean, this is not a game that screams upside at any particular position, but I think that you're still good enough with the Niners to play most positions. McCaffrey obviously gets an edge, but even Elijah Mitchell has some flex value as we've seen. Saints side of this is a tough defensive matchup, so don't get cute here. I think you're still okay with Olave. I don't want anything else in the receiving game though. Obviously, Kamara. This is not a game that I look at and say, yeah, target this for fantasy. Like the Niners, as we mentioned, they don't feature anyone, so it's like a sum of all parts. They're definitely going to win this as a better game to bet on, but from a fantasy perspective, I don't think you look at this and can pick out that somebody on the Niners is going to blow up. They're all going to be solid, but you don't really have anybody there you can trust to be like, a one at any position or a huge upside play at any position.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Like even DFS wise, I don't see anything that grabs my eye enough to say, "Oh, I have to play him."
What
Maybe
is
outside of Brandon Ayuk because you're looking for touchdown upside.
What is McCaffrey's price and his rank compared to other running backs on the main slate?
He's 8,800, and that puts him as RB1. Eckler's at 8,500.
It's tough. I mean, most years you're okay with that price because he gets, over 50% of the opportunity for the entire team. That's not really been the case since his move to San Francisco. All right. 2 games left. Sunday Night Football. Packers at the Eagles. Eagles 6.5-point favorites at home. 46.5 is the game total. I'm a little surprised this isn't more than a touchdown, or I guess this isn't more than 7. I like Philly in this instance to cover this. Good defense. The offense has been kind of slow the past couple of weeks, just 38 total points. They generally stay right around that high 20s to low 30s range. AJ Brown is questionable still. Dallas Goedert on IR. So there is some concern of the potency of this offense, but Green Bay, outside of their one blow-up game against Dallas where the big plays galore, they've been one of the lower scoring offenses. They're still one of the slowest pace offenses. So I'll take Philly in the points, and I'll take the under 46.5.
Jalen Hurts on the Eagles side. I don't know how you don't. Yeah, Eagles are pretty chalk. AJ Brown, Miles Sanders, nothing cute there. For the Packers side of this, Eagles defense has been decent. Alan Lazard's been the most consistent option. Aaron Jones is the best back that you can start out of this offense. I don't know. Not a game also that screams a lot for fantasy. I think the Eagles win this, but Packers like to keep the pace slower. Eagles aren't going to have to push the pace in this one. Kind of meh.
I do like Miles Sanders this week though at 6,300 going up as we get the Packers.
Yeah.
Plus, what about Christian Watson? Do you think he can keep the touchdown streak going? He's got like 5 touchdowns in the last 6 quarters.
I promise you, he's trying. I don't know if they're going to put Slay on because Slay's shadows. So depending on who you think Slay's going to cover between Lazard and him,
probably
that's going to be the big. It should be Watson. He's a more explosive player. Lazard's got the size though, and they don't really have much behind Slay. I don't think Bradbury's been quite the same since his days with the Panthers.
I can see them saying we're not going to let Watson burn us though, because Lazard isn't the type that's going to. He's a bigger body, but he's not going to.
But he can definitely. Lazard can still win downfield. He's still great at positioning. He's still one of the bigger outside threats. And Rodgers is obviously still one of the best at threading the needles. But I'm just one. It's more so. I think depends on who Slay gets.
They're both not bad. I mean, Lazard's at 5,800, so that's not a bad deal either.
I mean, thank God it's not. It's not part of the main slate, so you don't have to really worry too much about that.
No.
All right, we got a question before we get to the last game. Unless you have anything else to add, Ryan. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just trying to pick up the captain things.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lazard. I think if you want to play one of the cheaper options in the captain slot to not get too heavily invested in the one player, it's obviously a fine idea. All right, Big Trev wants to know Kamara in a tough matchup, or Rashad White without Leonard Fournette?
Rashad White,
Rashad White, yeah.
100%. Brown, second most points allowed to the running back position over the last 5 weeks.
Love it. I'm gonna just pull up Kamara's production. As you guys said, tough matchup against the Niners. We just literally talked about. Targets low. Well, the past 3 weeks, only 13. Total yards hasn't reached that nice 4-game stretch in the middle part of the season. It's been kind of quiet the last 3 weeks. No touchdowns. Only one game he scored a touchdown in, too. He's got 3 touchdowns in one game. That's it. Everything else is no touchdowns. So yeah, I like to call. You guys are both white, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Final game, Steelers at the Colts. Colts are 2.5-point favorites at home. 39.5 is the game total. And like most games this week, you don't really got to get cute with betting. This is one of those weeks you can probably just take off side of a couple games. Both teams are pretty meh against the spread. No, Steelers are 3-2 in the past 5 games. Colts are 2-5 or 2-3. Yeah, I'm punting this game. There's no need to put money on both teams that are struggling to produce.
Yeah. Just kind of looking at what the Colts have done against a wide receiver here, obviously for Pickens reasons. Adams went for 27.6. McLaurin also went well. So while the Colts are good against the receiving position, I think that you're pretty okay with Pickens this week. Steelers, the pass rush has been good, but what the Colts receivers have done the last few weeks, Paris Campbell has really, really been on a good stretch here as of late. So you're okay with that. Not a ton of upside. There's some floor there, though. It's kind of a YOLO play. Same thing for Pittman. You don't love it, and you don't have to love it, but there's floor there, and that's what's going to win you this week. I think is floor. And looking at all these matchups, there's not a ton of upside anywhere. So Campbell and Pittman will both have good floor. Taylor, you're fine with. Najee, you're fine with. You finally got a touchdown. Harris did, so you're fine with that. And Pickens, I think, has the most upside out of this entire game, although it's not huge. Really a week where there's not a lot of upside in a lot.
No, not really at all. Yeah, DFS wise, it's just like everything Hopper said. Is how I'd go with it.
It's usually the best way to go about things. You just go with whatever I say.
Just go. No, I'm trying to bring it up right now. I had the original one brought up, but I do like George Pickens a lot. That call I do like.
All of these takes brought to you by Distill and Dos Vidania. So if you don't like anything I said, tweet Distill because
yikes,
their 14.6% beer has done a number on me, and I cannot focus enough to really deep dive any of this.
I mean, what about a sneaky play of Paris Campbell?
I already mentioned Paris Campbell.
It's not very sneaky either.
No, I said he's got decent floor and he's been on a relatively good stretch, but there's not.
It's been pretty good.
Yeah, he's been decent.
Alec Pierce?
Yeah. Well,
It hasn't really done much lately.
I was going to say, has he garnered attention?
He had 8 targets last game, but he didn't do anything with them.
Oh,
Yep.
Great. Hopper loves receivers that gets targets, but can't produce with him.
I love snap share when you don't do anything when you're on the field. That's my favorite. He's got 90% snap share, but 2 targets. Oh,
Got a lot. Aw. Wait a minute. I thought you liked Gabe Davis.
Ooh. That's a show.
That's the show. Because we've got a full episode. We got to mention him once.